Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning, and a pleasant Good Friday morning to you and yours. And welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Thom Brennaman. We come your way 10 a.m. to noon, Monday through Friday. We'd love to have you with us each and every day. You can find us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. We always ask you please subscribe to the program. You can also find us streaming on Facebook on the Chatterbox Sports page. If you prefer to join us in podcast form, by all means, just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman, and you're dialed in. It is rare we start with golf, but Tiger Woods is a rare breed. The 15-time major winner returned to the links for the first time since July of last year at the Genesis Open in Los Angeles. And after a somewhat sluggish start, nothing great, nothing bad, Woods went on a vintage finish, birdie, birdie, birdie over the final three holes to finish with a 2-under par 69. He's just 5 shots in back of the co-leaders, Max Homa and Keith Mitchell. He will tee it up today at roughly 10:30 Eastern time for round 2, trying to make the cut. And Paul Fritchner, as you probably know, being the gambling man along with your running mate over there, Casey McAllister, apparently the odds were heavily in favor of Tiger not making the cut. That was a big deal, right?
Yeah. I mean, he still has to do this. He's still got to go out there and make the cut today. But, yeah, the odds were pretty good if you wanted to take Tiger to make the cut. It was pretty good value. I did not. I didn't bet this tournament anyway, but
it was very exciting yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, what a threesome he played in.
Oh,
very close friends, longtime best pals with Rory McIlroy, who finished, I believe he finished at 3 or 4 under, and then Justin Thomas. One or the other was 4, the other was -3, and then you have Tiger -2. It was a great group to watch yesterday. College basketball last night, I mean, they got beat as a number 1 team, so why not get beat as a number 3 team? Purdue falls at Maryland 68-54. They were outscored in the second half, 43-26. The Terrapins now 18-8 on the year. Then you have Iowa. Iowa beat Ohio State last night. Now, that's not saying a lot. 92-75, but Iowa red hot. I tell you what, the Big Ten, a lot of people have kind of overlooked the Big Ten this year. They have a lot of rock-solid teams. Maybe not the great team. Perhaps you throw Purdue in that mix. But they got a lot of good teams. And look out, as we talked about yesterday, for Northwestern and Iowa and Maryland. All should make the tournament. Winners in the top 25 include number 2 Houston, 4th-ranked UCLA, number 8 Arizona, 13th-ranked Gonzaga, and number 17 St. Mary's. Now this weekend, starting tonight, NKU plays at Purdue Fort Wayne, Xavier at home on Saturday to DePaul. Paul will talk about that in a little while. Tennessee at Kentucky. Now there's an interesting game, boys. Did you hear the comments from Coach Cal after the win the other night?
Maybe.
Where he says nobody wants to play us in March.
Like a lot of teams would disagree with that. I think a lot of teams want to play them in March.
I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a lot of talent and a lot of athletes there. They haven't put the whole thing together.
It's true.
I don't know. And look, people can say whatever they want. When you walk out onto the court, I don't care who you are. And they always say, don't look at that, the front of the jersey. But there they are with Kentucky right across the front. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's Kentucky.
Yeah. I mean, they still got work to do to make the tournament.
They do.
So,
they do.
But again, this is a Tennessee. They already beat Tennessee. In fact, they pretty handily beat Tennessee at Tennessee. So if they do it again, I mean, they will be.
Don't you think they're in already? I mean, unless they just completely collapse.
No, I mean they're on the outside looking in right now, or they'd be in Dayton. If they were in right now, they'd be in Dayton.
Okay.
So maybe.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Sunday, UC plays at UCF. That game will start at noon. Baseball news, all-star catcher and Hall of Fame broadcaster Tim McCarver died yesterday. He was 81 years old. I had the pleasure and the honor of calling many, many games with Tim, regular season games and many, many postseason games. I've always said his knowledge of the game was rivaled only by Joe Morgan among the thousands of people I had the chance to meet in the game of baseball. He always showed up smiling, enthusiastic, curious about the people managing and those playing in the game. He also cared about the fans. He never thought that because he was the most recognized analyst in the sport that he was somehow better than anybody else. He was a kid from Memphis, Tennessee, and it was in Memphis, Tennessee where he died. God bless your soul, Tim McCarver. You were a beautiful man who will truly be missed by those who loved you, and I am one of them. What a great dude, Tim McCarver. I remember we were doing the playoffs one year. The Yankees were playing the Angels in the division series. And we go to Yankee Stadium, and Tim and I are doing a game together. Because Joe Buck was still doing football, I would step in there and work the number one baseball team for the division series. And then we got to the league championship series. I would go back to my partner, Steve Lyons. Joe would join Tim, and we'd each do an LCS. Anyway, we're at Yankee Stadium. It's pouring down rain, and there's no doubt the game's going to be called off. So Tim and I decide we're going to go down into the Angels clubhouse and hang out and talk with Mike Scioscia, who's the manager of the Angels at the time. This had to be 2001. Angels won the World Series that year. So we're down in the bowels of Yankee Stadium, visitors clubhouse, and sitting in the room turns out to be Mike Scioscia, Tim McCarver, Joe Madden, and me. Now, Joe Madden at the time had been with the Angels for about 20 years, working in their organization in various roles. Minor league director, player development guy, minor league manager, had worked himself up to being a major league coach, but nobody outside of the Angels organization knew who Joe Madden was. So we're sitting in there, and we must have been in there for, I'm guessing, an hour and a half maybe. And we're talking baseball, just the four guys. I'm obviously doing a lot more listening than having anything to add to that conversation. All those guys had forgotten more about baseball than I'll ever know. And I remember the more and more we sat there, it seemed like Joe Madden would be the guy talking the most, as though Mike Scioscia was trying to say, without saying it, that this is a guy who knows a lot about baseball. And I remember Tim and I were walking out of Yankee Stadium, and we jump in a car with a couple of people we're working with to go back to the hotel, and then we go out to dinner. And we're sitting there at dinner, and Tim knew McCarver. McCarver knew New York inside and out because, of course, he worked there for the Mets, starting his broadcasting career for years and years and years at WOR. And so he knew all the restaurants and all this kind of thing. We get there, and he says, you know what? He said, that guy, Joe Madden, he said, now there's a guy who, if he gets a chance, that guy is going to be a great major league manager one day. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, okay, I mean, the guy obviously knows a lot about baseball, but I mean, he'd been around for 20 years. He wasn't some spring chicken like they seem to want to hire now. A bunch of young guys that have really not done a lot in developing their skills in whatever role it was. And obviously, just like everything else, by and large, that he predicted would happen in baseball, it happened. And Joe Madden went on to have a phenomenal managerial career, and Tim and I used to talk about that all the time. All the time, that conversation and just that whole night of hanging out in New York City, having a couple of cocktails till midnight, maybe later. And I remember the 2001 World Series. Diamondbacks are playing the New York Yankees. It's the bottom of the ninth inning. Mariano Rivera had never blown a save in his postseason career. It's the bottom of the ninth. Diamondbacks putting guys on base. They get a hit batter. Craig Counsell gets hit. Mark Grace starts the inning. Base hit center field. Womack hooks a double down the right field line. And now all of a sudden the winning run, Jay Bell is at third. 1 out in the inning. Yankees bring the infield in, bring the outfield in. And McCarver says before it ever happened, Luis Gonzalez is a batter, left-handed batter, best hitter on the Diamondbacks team. But it's Mariano Rivera. And McCarver, before the pitch, says, this is very dangerous for the Yankees infield to be playing in. It's something they have to do. But this is extremely dangerous because Mariano Rivera's cutter runs in on the hands of a left-handed batter. And if somehow, some way, the left-handed batter can just make contact, they can flare the ball out into left field. It would easily be caught if you're playing at the normal depth, but because they're in, it could fall in for a base hit. Guess what happened? Jam shot off the hands of Luis Gonzalez, broken bat, flare over the head into left field, over Derek Jeter's head. Trotting in Jay Bell. I got that picture around here somewhere of Jay Bell. He signed it for me, scoring the winning run of the World Series. But Tim McCarver, you will be missed. What an amazing guy. Just an awesome guy. It was easy to take shots, kind of like Joe Buck a lot now, right? And it was easy to take shots at McCarver because you saw him year after year after year. I mean, there were 4 different networks that he called the World Series for over about a 30-year span. He did it with Jack Buck on CBS. He called it for ABC. NBC brought him in. And then, of course, Fox, where he ended up finishing up. So to have that kind of career, it's easy for people to take shots. They get sick of you. They get sick and tired of hearing you say this and that. And, somebody once said that if you ask Tim McCarver what time it is, he's going to tell you how to build a watch. And that was certainly true. Tim could talk, but he's going to be missed. And I don't mean to ramble on and on. It's just it was tough to. I knew he was not doing well, and I was communicating with his daughter Kathy last night and again this morning. They're going to have the services for him down in Memphis, Tennessee on Thursday, and hopefully I can find a way to get down there.
Daniel Descalso tweeted out, Tim McCarver mispronounced my last name a couple of times, and I told him my grandmother wasn't happy with him. He asked for her number, called her to apologize, and had a nice conversation with her. She got a kick out of it, and he always asked me about her after that. R.I.P. Tim.
How about that?
Great story.
Great story.
And you look on Twitter through the day yesterday, there were just stories and stories rolling in. And, my only experience, or I don't know, anything with Tim was listening to him call the World Series. And it's just, a very a prominent name, prominent face that is pretty connected to a lot of big memories, right, from baseball over the last,
some of the biggest.
How many decades?
A lot of people remember the whole Deion Sanders thing, which was not pretty for anybody involved. For those that forget, Tim was being very critical of Deion Sanders during the World Series when Deion played for Atlanta, traveling back and forth to go play in an NFL game and then come back to play for the Braves in the World Series. And Deion didn't like it much. And so when they got to the World Series celebration, when the Braves won it, I believe it was 95. That was the only World Series the Braves won during that stretch where they had Glavine and Maddox and Smoltz and that whole group. 95, 96, one or the other. In the post-game celebration, Deion was dumping champagne all over Tim McCarver's head. I mean, just going out of his way to do it while he's sitting there trying to do his job, and it got kind of ugly there. But, life moved on, and McCarver called about 25 more World Series, and, life goes on. All right, boys, a couple of things I want to get into today. We got Tim McGee coming up at 10:40. We've not spoken with Tim since the Super Bowl, and his thoughts on, that game, but more importantly, his thoughts on what the Bengals ought to be doing moving forward. We talked to Jay Morrison at length about that yesterday. What should they do in the draft? Did Tim, along with the rest of us, kind of feel like, what those two teams that played in the Super Bowl were doing is that a blueprint for what the Bengals should consider doing, meaning beef up your offensive line. They did that last year, spent a ton of money, but is the line coming back next year good enough to hold up? It's a legitimate question. Do you sacrifice one of your receivers, right? The Chiefs let Tyreek Hill go. Now, the Bengals don't have to let T. Higgins go. They could franchise him, sign him to a long-term deal. They're 2 years away from that, or at least a year and a half away from having to worry about a long-term deal on Chase. But what about Tyler Boyd? And then the news yesterday, fellas, where Aaron Jones, outstanding running back, right, for the Green Bay Packers.
Right.
Very similar contractual situation to that facing Joe Mixon. Jones agrees to a $5 million pay cut to stay with the Green Bay Packers. Now, is that something you guys think is a precursor for Joe Mixon?
Before I actually answer that, Aaron Jones, that's not the first time he's taken a pay cut either, I don't think. He took one last year to keep Aaron Rodgers around. So it's very, very telling, at least in that situation, what a player will do in his shoes at that caliber of talent to stay with a Hall of Fame type quarterback. Not saying that Joe Burrow is yet, but when you have the option to renegotiate your contract, to stay with a team that's really good, that has aspirations of Super Bowls, some guys will do it, others won't. And I'm very curious and interested to see Joe Mixon do something, renegotiate. He, to me, is a team player. He's a team guy. So I can see him doing it, but until you see it, it's hard to believe it. That these players in the NFL don't like taking pay cuts. And, I would really hope that he does, just because the value there for as a fan, as a Bengal in the organization, you'd want to maximize your contracts. And right now, Joe Mixon, with the amount he's playing and the production, is just not there. With the $12 million that he's supposed to get this upcoming season, it just doesn't make sense. So, in my opinion, I hope that we can see something with Joe Mixon. Same with Tyler Boyd. I would really hope that, and I think he's already come out and said that Tyler Boyd feels like he's secure for at least another year with the organization with the same pay. So that might not be an option, but I certainly do hope that Joe Mixon considers a renegotiation.
The running back thing is such an interesting thing. I know that position has been devalued, if you will, over the last number of years. Guys get a little older. They start, the wear and tear. They slow down, all those kinds of things. But, Paul, we talk about this stuff all the time. And, you try to walk in another man's shoes, and in this case, Joe Mixon. Now, would there be a team, if the Bengals cut him, let's say the Bengals approached him about doing what Aaron Jones did, and he says no way. So, the contract's not guaranteed. The Bengals would certainly take a certain number on the salary cap hit. If they release Mixon, be a lower number than what it would. Obviously, if they kept him or re-signed him, that number could drop. But, you wonder, even if he took half the money he's making now, would he get that money or more money on the free agent market? And what would be the demand for Joe Mixon? He's had an outstanding career, but teams just don't put a lot of value in that running back position. But it only takes one team, right?
Yeah, and as they probably shouldn't. We talk about that so much on this show. Should you go out there and pay a running back as much money as maybe some people deserve that they should be paid, or should you just go out and get the next best option, plug and play with whoever it is for the next few years, and then start the cycle all over again and get somebody serviceable enough? And that seems to be the way that it's trending right now. Why spend why overspend on Joe Mixon when you can spend on another wide receiver or another offensive lineman or whoever else that might be literally a more valuable piece to your team than letting P. Ryan or whoever it might be go out there and just do their job for another year.
Yeah. And I would say, too, trading is an option, but you're not going to get what the 49ers had to give up to get Christian McCaffrey, which was like a second round.
No. You're
going to get like a fourth or a fifth round for Joe Mixon. The age, the production, the injury history, all those things kind of factored in. I wouldn't mind them trading away just because it gets us off the books for Joe Mixon, but Bengals don't trade often, and they don't trade guys like Joe Mixon away for nothing. So it would be really hard for that to even come to fruition unless there was a team desperate enough to give us something more than what they thought Joe Mixon was worth, which probably a second or a first round.
Well, the old adage goes about, when you're going to let somebody go, who are you going to replace them with? And the question I would have for you, Casey and Paul, is this. Mixon, a couple of times, has been better than a 1,000-yard back, the featured primary back in this offense. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Now, his pass blocking has certainly slipped, and that's a big reason why he got roughly half the number of snaps in the AFC Championship game that P. Ryan got. We saw P. Ryan this year when he was a featured back, when Mixon was hurt in a couple of games this year, ran the ball very, very, very well. But are you confident? Would you feel good going into next season, knowing your aspirations are and rightfully should be getting and winning the Super Bowl, right? Getting to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl. In fact, ESPN came out with a huge article today where they asked a number of their analysts, predict the Super Bowl next year. 3/4 of those analysts are picking the Bengals to be in and or win the Super Bowl next year. I mean, all the pieces are there, right? They got a few things to clean up, decisions to make, big ones, no doubt. But would you feel confident going into the year next year with a young runner as a, maybe a pass catcher out of the backfield, all those kinds of things, but P. Ryan as your primary lead back? Can you win a championship? I mean, they didn't win a championship with Mixon as their lead back.
Right.
But can they win a championship? Do you feel good about their chances of getting to a Super Bowl if P. Ryan is the main guy?
You want to know, this is going to be really controversial, what I'm about to say, but it's the same argument that we're having about Jonah Williams and Jackson Carman. Is the drop-off really that significant? And I would argue it's not really all that significant when you look at Joe Mixon to P. Ryan. And I love Joe Mixon to death. I think the ceiling there was really, really high for Joe Mixon. But it just seems like the style of play for Joe Mixon as of late is a one cut back up in the hole and getting as much yards as you can. And he usually would fall down to the first contact. He was one of the worst running backs all season after first contact. So, to me, you'd rather get a guy like Samaje who tends to run through contact a lot better than Joe Mixon. And for me, I'd rather go take my chances on getting a guy in the fourth round like Tyjae Spears from Tulane, who's just a freak out of the backfield. He can catch the ball, very fast, very elusive type guy. And I think it gives you a different change of pace that we really haven't had. Like Joe Mixon and Samaje are more closer to each other than we realize. And we've deployed that type of back system now for feels like years. We haven't really had a Giovanni Bernard type player in what feels like, I don't know, 5 years, because
longer than that by the time Bernard was really a productive player and getting a lot of playing time. Because I don't know, that's one of the great mysteries to me is why this franchise did not utilize Giovanni Bernard more. Because when they used him more, the better he was. And then his production started going down, down, down. They get Mixon down, down, down. The next thing you know, he's out the door.
Right. So that's where I would go. I think that's the smart thing. That's the organization thought process in my mind. That's the ownership in my mind going, all right, this is the best way to create a team that better suits what we do, which is throwing the ball, which is pass blocking with P. Ryan. And you're going to get P. Ryan for like $4 or $5 million. It's not like you're going to be breaking the bank for that. And you might even get him for cheaper. I don't know. He might take a smaller deal to stay with Cincinnati. And I think the Bengals, that might actually be a priority in free agency because of how valuable he is in the scheme, blocking. To me, it makes sense. To me, it makes sense for the Bengals to go that direction.
Now, Reed Mouse points out 8 of the last 10 Super Bowl winners have had running backs on their rookie contract. So, look, as the game has evolved and it's a much more pass-first sport, that's not even debatable. I mean, you look at who's out there, and the Eagles were a little bit the exception to that rule this year. They ran the ball a lot more than they threw it. They had to throw it a lot in the Super Bowl. But, P. Ryan is not under a rookie deal. He's been in the league for a while, but he's had a lot less wear and tear on his body because of his lack of playing time, right? Going back to Washington and even with the Bengals, than Mixon has had. What is this we're putting up here, Paul, from Ben?
It is a $10 super chat from Ben Riley, and he asks, why don't teams preset proportional allocation of money based on a percentage of cap and projected end of year stats? That way, if the team makes more money or less, the percentage won't change and we don't need to worry each year.
Yeah, I mean, that goes into I don't think the players would even sign a deal like that. They won't want to sign a deal that's not guaranteed, let alone the way it's structured now where it's, only a portion of the contract is guaranteed. If you were to, say, get hurt at the beginning of the season and you're supposed to be making $20 million a year as your number one receiver, now you're making zero because it's a percentage based on how you did the season before. So to me, I don't see that happening, but I do see the other part where he says money based on percentage of cap. Because
Mike Florio has talked about this before. In fact, Sir Boy Wonder pointed this out, and I saw this a few days ago, where they were talking about the Joe Burrow extension. And Florio made the point, said, don't be shocked if Burrow is guaranteed a percentage of the salary cap.
Yeah, it would be the new age, because I don't think that's ever happened before in the NFL. It's been done in other leagues. But for the Bengals to go ahead and do something like that, there's other legal stipulations that would have to come in, and the NFL would have a field day with that, because the contract would be ever changing every single season. Because the salary cap goes up and down after. Well,
it goes up. I mean, it's gone way up. The last 3 years, it has had an incredible leap. There was the only time it's not gone way up, it went up a little bit in the COVID year when they knew they couldn't sell tickets to the games. They kept playing, but you couldn't come to the game, right?
Right.
So then all of a sudden it made an enormous leap into 21, an even bigger leap, 22, and now a huge leap again going into 2023. I tell you what, I would give serious consideration to that deal all day, every day if I were Joe Burrow. If indeed that's something that the franchise is willing to discuss, where you're guaranteed, and it's basically a guarantee, that let's say they say, okay, he's getting 15 to 18% of whatever the salary cap is on any given year.
Right.
That is guaranteed. That's going up.
Yeah.
I mean, guaranteed. With the revenue in the National Football League, I mean, you've got TV networks beating each other over the head. And the long-term extensions they just signed, and then all of a sudden now you're starting to get into the whole streaming thing and where that's going to go. You know somebody else besides Amazon Prime's going to get in on that deal.
Right?
They'll create some Saturday night thing, just like they did Thursday night. there'll be something that comes along with Apple or whoever it is where there's going to be a Saturday night game or a late Saturday night probably. I mean, they got to think about the college football thing a little bit there. But however they figure it out, there's going to be more money coming in, thus the salary cap goes up.
Yeah. And so to be clear, though, that does not benefit the Bengals. That benefits the players in that situation when you guarantee percentage of the cap, because it's always going to go up. That number can fluctuate, and it usually benefits the player in that situation. Because think about it like this. They would probably give Joe Burrow 20% because that's around – we're at like $255 million in cap space. That puts him at like $50 million, a little over $50 million. And then let's say next year it goes up to $260. Well, he gets a little extra more now, and now you're looking at him being the top quarterback right now in the NFL with that amount of money.
Sure.
So it's a great question. I do like that question a lot. I think it's a great one. But I don't know. It would not be smart organizationally as the Bengals to do that if they give him top dollar. Now, if they do something like $15 million, or no, I'm sorry, not $15 million, 15%, then yeah, it continues to grow, but you started off so low down the totem pole. 15% of 250, I can't think of that off the top of my head. I'm not a math major, right? But
no math in public on this show.
No math in public.
We've all agreed on that.
But I believe it's at least 40 or a little less than 40.
Yeah, but you get into the whole guaranteed stuff, and how or upfront signing bonus money on it, right?
Right.
I mean, that could be a huge number, and there are rules against that. Otherwise, teams would give some guy, whatever it is, a gazillion dollars up front, and then his salary cap is only, 10, 15, 18 a year, which everybody would love to have your quarterback. But look, that's the one thing you have to give it up to the Bills general manager this year when he talked about, the Bengals comparing them to Buffalo, is that, they had Jamar Chase and they had Joe Burrow and they had T. Higgins, all these guys on basically a rookie contract. And then how the piper, you got to pay the piper sooner or later. And that's what happened last year with Buffalo, where it was the year that Josh Allen had the huge jump, which Burrow will have, depending on how they structure the contract. You heard Jay Morrison yesterday. Next year it might be for $10 million. The next year it might be for $12 million. And then all of a sudden it jumps to $50 million in a year on your salary cap hit, his salary. So, the Bills had that last year with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, where all of a sudden those guys went from that, that first tier thing to pow, through the ceiling, and now trying to construct the rest of your team, which the Bengals are now staring down the barrel of all those decisions this offseason. All right, when we come back, we're going to have Tim McGee coming up. Want to get into a couple of other topics here today as well. Eric Bieniemy, it appears, is leaving Kansas City to become the offensive coordinator under Ron Rivera for the Washington Football Wizards. Thoughts on that move? And they're talking about Matt Nagy coming in, the former Bears head coach, to replace Bieniemy in Kansas City. I mean, does that do anything to Kansas City's offense? We'll talk about it. Not sure Andy Reid's still there. But Bieniemy going to Washington, very interesting. He's been rumored to get a head coaching job for years and years, and it hasn't happened. All right, we got that and so much more coming up on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Mr. President, please introduce the Ham and Eggers.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great, trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
Well, let's get rolling with this. We talked a lot about the Bengals.
You know what, Casey? You're right, we have. And I'm sure we'll talk about the Bearcats a little more. The Bearcats have a big game on Sunday. For right now, we've talked about the Bengals, and that's because of Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and
productivity.
Visit Encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. There is also a new premium alkaline water. I am not smart enough to know what that means, but I'm going to trust it because it's good stuff. There's a new premium alkaline water out, Pawnee, and I have to tell you, it tastes really good. It tastes very good. There is a difference in water, as I always say. You know what water is good and what water is bad. Pawnee is on the good scale of water. It tastes great. Made in Hamilton, Ohio, Pawnee uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that many other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water that is also, quote,
the best tasting water in the world. Sorry, I thought you were throwing me a bone there.
Wait, hold on. The result is a healthy alkaline water that is also, quote,
the best tasting water in the world.
There it is. Visit their website at pawneewater.com. That is PAHHNI water.com. PAHHNI water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. Get your coffee from UDF, bet with Betfred, drink Pawnee water, get your technology from Encore.tech. We do have another super chat. Look at us. $10 super chat from Ben Riley. Hey, I could write a script for it in Python an afternoon for the whole staff. See the payout to do a variable and just round to the nearest dollar for each member. If you could try to get me on Python, you would see gears turning in my head that you'd never even know would exist.
I did a little HTML.
Did you?
Yeah, I did a little HTML. It's a lot different than Python, but $37.5 million. I mean, like, that would be the best case scenario for the Bengals if Joe Burrow was open for that. You know, if they decided to go that 15% of the cap space route.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be unreal. I mean, you would know for sure that he's doing that, so then we can keep T and Jamar Chase.
Speaking of betting with Betfred, locks of the day went 0-2. Wait, no. I think mine lost. I had Purdue, but the graphic went 2-0.
I think
the graphic almost went 5-0 on Not Too Picky.
Yeah.
Graphic almost went 5-0. We got a little unlucky with Mick Cronin out there in the late night game. Almost went 5-0. I don't remember. Paul George had 4 threes, so he went over.
He went over.
I don't remember what you picked.
Are
on
these
the
your
show.
alleged locks of the day yesterday?
Yeah, Not Too Picky we did great, but the locks on here did not. Well, I don't know what Casey did. Did Casey's win?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then we split.
Because I used the same one for the Not Too Picky graphic for this show.
Okay, yeah.
I remember you picked, again, what was it, Casey, about a three-pointers made by who?
Paul George?
Paul George.
Yeah, he had 4 threes, and Casey
God, he's
picked
still
3.
playing, Paul George?
Paul George. Great name.
Great name.
Great name.
No doubt. George is a great last name.
Now, I wish I would have put some money down on it, actually. I didn't actually put any money down on it. I should have, though.
Yeah.
And then you went with the under for the UCLA Bruins, correct?
Was that what I picked?
I thought that's what you picked.
I think I did switch to that. That didn't hit either, but I did because at first I was thinking about Purdue. I was glad I got off the Purdue train because, I had given that the night before on my show, and then I quickly got off that train. UCLA, it was supposed to go – I want to say supposed to go under. It was looking great in the first half. UCLA came out and scored 17 points in the first 3 or 4 minutes, second half. Watched pretty much the whole game. It was the under died a slow death, Tom. Went over by 7. I think it was.
You are in a serious rut right now, Paul, right?
Oh, I am.
I mean, like one of the all-time ruts you've ever been in. You started gambling, what, around 11, 12 years old?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I legitimately, even when it's so bad right now that even when I win, I lose. Like, I never parlay stuff, never, ever. Like, I'm pretty strict, like, just bet straight bets, try to get the units up, build a slow bankroll kind of thing. And I just, for fun, have tried a couple parlays, and the only winners that I have been on in the last 2 weeks have been in those parlays that have also had legs that lost. So, yeah, I don't think I've actually cashed a bet. Now, I really haven't bet that much in 2 weeks because it's been so bad. Trying to get some momentum back, but yeah, this is the coldest I've ever been in my life.
One of the great lines in the chat in recent memory comes from George Santos.
What did he say?
He says, "Boy George is greater than Paul George." Ever tell you about when I met Boy George?
No.
Yeah, I'm with Harry Carey. Not to name drop, just happened to be. Harry and I were having lunch one day over at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. That was the only hotel that Harry did not stay with the team, the only city where he did not stay with the team. The Plaza is this legendary place right on Central Park. I mean, highfalutin, big league joint, right?
Yeah.
All the stars stay in the Plaza, and Harry was one of the stars. The rest of us schmoes, including all the players, stayed at a Hyatt right in Grand Central Terminal, but Harry stayed over at the other place, the Plaza. And so I go over to meet him for lunch one day, and sitting at the table next to us is none other than Boy George. So, I grew up in that generation. He had a lot of big hits, a lot of great songs you could dance to and all that kind of thing. So I had to make it a point to walk over and say hello to him. And he was very, very friendly, very, very nice. And that was it. Not much to that story, but it's Boy George.
Sure.
Yeah. I guess he's making a comeback.
Really?
Yeah, I read that recently. He's going on tour or something like that. Anyway. Okay. We got Tim McGee coming up any minute now. Let me know when you have him hooked up, Case. And we will chat. I want to make sure that he's still good to go.
We got him.
Okay, got him? Okay. You say when.
Yep, we're ready.
All right. Let's bring in the former Bengal great, number 85. Number 85 on the scoreboard, number 1 in your hearts. Our good buddy Tim McGee. Tim, I hope you're all right, man. We were worried about you the other day. You okay? Your family okay?
No, everything's okay. Some moron tried to break into my residence and broke a window and that kind of stuff. But all's good. We have this vicious watchdog that's about 12 pounds, and he ran him away. So it goes to show you what type of burglar that was.
That's scary stuff, though, man. I mean, come on, right? I don't care who you are, former football player, whole 9 yards. I mean, that being very serious here. That's scary, scary stuff.
It really is, but I guess maybe unfortunately because I grew up in a kind of rough neighborhood that that was more par for the course than an anomaly. Where now I'm when you're in suburban America, obviously it's not something you come to expect. But if I'm a thief using logical thinking and common sense, let me see. I think that would be the ideal place to start if I'm going to start a career as a thief. I'll probably go out in the suburbs because we have a false sense of security out in the suburbs that we leave our possessions, our doors unlocked, and we leave laptops in cars, and so we kind of invite them in, and then when it happens, we're like, oh my God, can you believe it? Look what happened. It's like, nah, you invited them, so it happened. But all in all, everyone's good, and if a broken window is my most major problem in life, I'm doing damn good.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Hey, we have not spoken on the show here since the Super Bowl. And I'm kind of curious, Tim, because you watch a lot of football. I mean, you go way back with this franchise, right? I mean, big-time draft pick coming out of Tennessee. You become the primary target in one of the most prolific offenses in NFL history. You play in a Super Bowl. And now you've lived in the area and you follow the team and do radio work. Point I'm making is you really have a broad spectrum of just watching this team and having opinions about this team and this franchise. Did watching the Super Bowl and the way the Chiefs and the Eagles are constructed, and let's just start with the offensive line for each team and how dominant both were all season and in that game. I mean, you didn't even know Chris Jones, for example, was on the field. His team won the game, right? After wrecking the Bengals up one side and down the other. Did the way those teams are constructed make you wonder if there's going to be a lot of copying of those two teams going on?
Well, you know what, Tom? Let's go back in history, and we've always said, the championships are won with defenses and in the trenches. And modern day football is won with offensive linemen. You got to have a very solidified offensive line that can pass block and run block. Linemen traditionally love, they enjoy blocking downhill, which is basically the running game. But the way these two teams in particular, and we knew it would come down to 4 teams, these two teams, the Bengals and, possibly Buffalo and maybe another team or two. But all the teams had something in common. And the one aspect where we have always been concerned with the Bengals is the O-line. We've talked about that. We've talked about it. It's been well documented the last 3 years, and especially in this new Joe Burrow era, that it's like you're going to get this poor kid killed, and that's pretty much what was happening early on in his career, first, second year, and it continues to happen. So yeah, it is still something that the Bengals have to address. Now, when you look at that, it's a tough choice because the Bengals could have upgraded their line 2 years ago, but they chose Jamar Chase. So I think that was one great choice that they've made, and it's turned out to be that way. But now, yeah, they got to focus on the offensive line. And Tom, I tell you, man, it's going to be tough. And here's why it's going to be tough. You already got not cap concerns, but you got cap concerns coming. It's right at your toes. It's at the club toes. You got to sign Joe Burrow. You got to sign T. Higgins. You got to sign Jamar Chase. Then you got Jermaine Pratt. You got a lot of players, key players at key positions. So where are you going to find the cap dollars to, upgrade your O-line? So you're pretty much going to have to stick with what you have and just hope they continue to get better together. And, Collins coming off of a major, ACL, he's not going to be 100%, although he'll be in uniform looking like he's 100%, but that kid probably be 70% at best. So, yeah, it's something that when we talk about the Bengals in the future, that conversation will be heavily talked about because it's something that they definitely need to upgrade.
All right, I want to ask you this, though, because, it seems to me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you've forgotten more football than I'll ever know. But going back to what you just referenced, where the Bengals made the decision to take Jamar Chase instead of Penei Sewell, the offensive lineman. Okay, we all agree, great decision. Now, all of a sudden, because of the cap situation, because of, some of these big-time contracts that are coming with the guys that you just mentioned, if you're looking at this offensive line, I think everybody agrees what you just said. There is no way, because of when the injury occurred so late in the year, right around Christmas, there is no way a 320-pound man is going to be ready coming off an ACL when the team starts training camp in July and August. There's no chance of that, of him being 100%. So you have to start somebody else more than likely at right tackle next year. The 3 guys in the middle are pretty much set. You spent money on Kappa and Karras. They'll be healthy. Volson had a solid rookie year, maybe not a great rookie year, but a good rookie year. Okay, you just assume for a second those guys are there, and you've got Jonah Williams coming back one more year. If you had to make a decision today, okay, I consider trading Tyler Boyd and freeing up some money to go out and get a tackle that we otherwise can't afford if we keep Boyd. Or we approach Mixon and ask him about cutting down his salary like Aaron Jones did yesterday with the Green Bay Packers, so we can free up some money for a tackle. Or would you be okay with the group they've got now, Williams at left tackle, I assume, Jonah, maybe you move him to right tackle, and maybe Carman goes to left tackle. What would you do with that line?
That's tough because you're sitting with T. Higgins. And when you talk about the offensive line and upgrading the offensive line, there's one area of concerns the Bengals have, and that's the tackle position. So now we're talking about arguably and probably, I would say, the second highest paid position on the football field. So now you've created yourself, if it was, say, thinner, that makes it more doable. Tackle, oh my Lord, tackles are going to command. I can't think of the tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, Orlando Brown.
Yeah, Orlando Brown, or the tackle for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah,
Trent Williams.
Yep.
who's considered the best in the business. When you're talking about that, I mean, they're going to get, not Joe Burrow type of money, but they're going to be knocking right at the heels of a Joe Burrow's contract. So you're talking about in excess of $100 million for tackles. So, how do you, it gets more and more complicated when you look at it. It's like, okay, I have some draft pieces. I can trade, a T. Higgins for someone. Okay, but now I go from having a great receiver core to a great receiver. So now I got time for Joe Burrow to throw, but if they double Jamar Chase, that creates another problem. Okay, so then you look at Joe Mixon and you look at some other players and restructuring their contract in hopes to go out and get a quality tackle. I think you can get a quality tackle, but you're not going to get a top talent. You're going to get what you already have. You're going to get a Collins, and that's how you got him last year. Always keep this in mind, Tom. The reason why guys are in free agency is because their teams didn't value them the way they felt they will be, or they could get the dollars they can command on an open market. That's how a guy becomes a free agent. Other than that, a club will tag that guy or a club will sign that guy to a long-term deal. So I think when you look at it, this may be the worst case scenario for the Bengals in trying to upgrade their offensive line, of which they've addressed what seems to be every single year besides the year of Jamar Chase. But last year, I think they tried. I think they did upgrade it. The O-line played great at times. They played poor at times, but more so, they played great at times. And unfortunately, through injuries, which every team faced, that pretty much knocked them out of the playoffs.
Did you see enough of Jackson Carman? I know it was only a couple of starts, and we know his story. He high draft pick, Clemson left tackle, all that. Showed up overweight, out of shape, got a chance to play, lost his job, came in this year, back up. But he's a natural tackle. He did not seem to me to be the guy that was getting worn out by Chris Jones and some of the other people in that game against Kansas City. Maybe you saw it different. Did you see enough of him that you would consider playing him at left tackle next year?
Yeah, I would consider it, but at the same time, I think we look at this. We got this Rolls-Royce Bentley at the quarterback position. And what are we going to protect him with? And if I'm Zach Taylor, if I'm Katie Blackburn, if Troy Blackburn, Mike Brown, et cetera, I'm looking at this Duke Tobin. I'm going, okay, wait a minute. Are we going to entrust our franchise? We're talking about our franchise. We're not talking about a quarterback. This quarterback just happened to be the franchise. This is who people come to see at Paycor Stadium. This is the guy that brings the recognition and the marketing to Cincinnati. Am I going to risk his skill level, his time as quarterback at the just absolute height of his career? Am I going to risk it with Carman? I just don't think that's something you can really do, because here it's high risk, high rewards. But at the same time, you going in, if you're playing the percentages, Tom, you got to look at this thing to say, if he fails, everyone's going to say, why in the hell did the team do that? That was so stupid. How could you do that? He's already shown you who he is. And if Joe Burrow ends up on his back 7 times in a game early on in the 2023 season, at the beginning, that is, oh my God, people will, they'll want Zach Taylor's head, and deservedly so. So I just don't know if that's worth the risk. But again, it's not like it's going to be a lot of quality players out there to grab at the tackle position. They're just going to command so much money, 30, 40 million per year. It's going to be tough, if not impossible, to really upgrade that position.
So do you think then, Tim, if I hear you, what you're saying here, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but, you were talking about something's got to give sooner or later. It may not necessarily have to be this year, but, I mean, look, everybody gets a year older. That's the way the world and life works, right? And this window of having a lot of great players around is only so long. It's not to say you can't replace them with other great players in the draft and things like that. Bengals have done a great job in that regard, and they've done a really great job on the sort of lesser free agent players. whether it was a guy like Pirine or whether it's a guy like Eli Apple or guys like that. They didn't pay Von Bell a ton of money, and he's been a hell of a player here. But if something's got to give on offense, something's got to give. If I hear you right, would you consider bundling up in a trade a T. Higgins, not a T. Higgins, the T. Higgins? Would you consider bundling up a guy like him? Maybe you trade him to somebody who has a top 3, 4 pick in the draft and go out and get the best offensive lineman there is.
No, I wouldn't consider it. Here's why. Exact Taylor offense depends on the skill position, and they have had a lot of success. We're talking about pushing a reset button if you were to get rid of T. Higgins, because, again, when you break the film down and you watch when the teams – when the Bengals don't have that two-headed monster in the game, teams can focus on one. And when they focus on one, then they make a conscious effort to take away a Jamar Chase when Higgins is not playing, and a T. Higgins when Chase is not playing. The Bengals don't have what it takes in the run game to compensate for that. So I would not risk the T. Higgins. And when we talk about the window of opportunity, I would roll the dice with what I have right now if I'm in their position. Because remember, they are only 1 quarter away from making it to the Super Bowl. And consequently, if you look at the Super Bowl, I think they would have created more of a problem for the Philadelphia Eagles because they're more well-rounded on offense. I think the masterful Patrick Mahomes made the difference in the football game. But with the Bengals case, I think they had a better chance of winning the Super Bowl than they did in winning the AFC Championship game, with, of course, playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. With that being said, I would continue down the path, try to upgrade here and there, make the necessary adjustments that I would have to make in the passing game by throwing short pass, intermediate passes, crossing my fingers, hope they have more good games, talking about the offensive line, than bad games. And with the total understanding that, listen, the window is wide open now, but it's about to start closing. And when I say that, it's going to happen this offseason. Joe Burrow has to have that extension. And when he has the extension, you may see the likes of the Joe Mixon either take a pay cut or be a cap casualty. And you're going to see other players as well. And remember, when we haven't even talked about the defensive side of the ball. Well, Luzier coming off on the ACL. So, Logan Wilson's contract is coming up. So, man, I hate to be the capologist for the Bengals, because that person is going to have the work cut out for him to try to fit all these pieces in. And for those who don't really understand how the NFL works, it's like Monopoly. They give 32 owners the same amount. And you can't spend no more than the other owner, no matter how many green dollars you may have. You may be Jerry Jones and have 50, 40 billions of green dollars, but every team gets the same allotment of cap dollars to spend. And now what you're seeing, success breed other teams plucking your talent because they want to get better. And that's the exact way the Bengals got better, through the draft, through free agency. And now other teams are now going to come after their talent. So that's why the window of opportunity is going to start closing here in the next year, definitely in 2.
All right. You brought me to something I wanted to ask you about, because when you get to these kinds of games and all of a sudden what Patrick Mahomes has accomplished, 5 straight AFC Championship games, been to the Super Bowl 3 times in the last 4 years. He's won 2 Super Bowls. Now all of a sudden he starts leaping up into that conversation. He's joined by 8 or 9 other guys like Roger Staubach, among others, John Elway, that have won 2 Super Bowls. Troy Aikman won 3. You have Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw, who won 4. Brady wins 7. Okay. You played against Joe Montana in that Super Bowl going back to 1988. You played against him in the regular season. When people start talking about greatest of all time, is it too early to start at least putting Patrick Mahomes in that conversation?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And let me say this. What he did this year was probably more special than his first year, because they traded away his number 1 target in Tyreek Hill, and for him to have the success that he did with a average cast of receivers outside of the outstanding tight end position, that was just remarkable. But to the credit to Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, their mind, their creativeness on offense just kept him and continues to help him grow and mature as a quarterback. But as far as his name being in the coming future as one of the most elite, best quarterbacks, greatest of all time conversation, yes, he's trending in that direction. We understand his talent pool, but let's hold on, pump the brakes. What if he never goes back to the playoffs? Remember, let me remind everyone, the Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is an exceptional talent, one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game. He has one Super Bowl, and he hasn't been in forever. And he is still the man. He is still great. He is still top 5, top 3, in my opinion. However, if you don't have the tools and the pieces around you, well, we have witnessed what could happen. So I think we need to pump the brakes on the conversation, let things materialize, and let's judge every career by looking back at the career, not looking forward at the career, because it's going to be really difficult for us to really be able to say, oh, he's going to have great talent, bad talent, average talent. What if Eric Bieniemy leaves? What if Andy Reid retires? When Andy Reid retires, he'll continue to be playing. And what if he has losing season his last 3, 4, 5 years? Then the conversation will be totally different. And that's what we do. We debate, and we like the negative over the positive. So all we're doing is taking him up to that pedestal so we can flick him right off as soon as he has losing streaks or something of that nature.
I don't know if you know Eric Bieniemy at all. You obviously did not play with him. He came after you.
I did. I actually played with him.
Okay, you did. Okay, well, then you know him a little bit. So here's what I'm getting at. And look, much has been made of, rightfully so. The lack of color when it comes to head coaches in the National Football League, general managers, et cetera. I look around at offensive and defensive coordinators over the last number of years in the National Football League, and I say to myself, of all of those guys that are getting jobs out there, Eric Bieniemy is the one that has me scratching my head. Do you scratch your head? Because it looks like he's leaving Kansas City today to go to the Washington Commanders under Ron Rivera. Well, what are your thoughts on Bieniemy? Well, what do you think is going on there?
Well, I have scratched my head till it's bleeding, trying to figure out what is the reasons that Eric Bieniemy has not obtained a job. And I'm not talking one job. I'm not talking one job as the head coach. I'm talking about multiple jobs. If he didn't succeed in this place, why haven't he gotten a second? So when you look at the Sean Paytons and you look at the Frank Reichs of the world, there's so many of them out there that have average or below average, and they get job after job. Josh McDaniel, job after job after job. It doesn't make you wonder because you know why. And here's my take on it. You have 31 billionaires, and you are trying to mandate and tell them what to do. I'm nowhere near a billionaire, but I'm pretty sure if I was one, I would have a similar attitude in that I have reached the pinnacle of success financially. And now you are going to tell me who to hire. I think human nature, people just go the opposite direction and saying, no, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do for the principle of it. I think there's no better example of that, and pretty much throwing the middle finger up was Jim Irsay with the Indianapolis Colts to say, I hire who I want to hire. And I know I ain't pissing you off. I'm pissing the system off, but I don't care. I don't care what you think. It's my team. I can do what I want to do. Mind your own business. I'm hiring Jeff Saturday, who has absolutely no coaching experience whatsoever. So we understand, and Tom, let's go back in history and go inside the boardroom of the NFL. It used to be if you were on the path to be a head coach, they said you had to learn the game from inside out. You had to learn the game from offensive, the line, then the skill position, and then you had to see the game as a whole. Then you get promoted as a grad assistant or quality control guy, then grad assistant, then assistant, then OC or DC. And then you got the interview. And after a while, if you knew the right people, like in life, on every job, if you had that connection, that Bill Belichick connection, Bill Parcells connection, that person could get you over the hump because the owners will call, or their law firm that they hired, they'll call and say, hey, what do you think of this guy? Done deal. That's how it happens. Unfortunately for men of color and women also, the opportunity the opportunity don't exist because the process always changes. Now it's, a couple years ago with Zach Taylor and other guys, it was, oh, you had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay, so we're going to hire you. And he's done a good job, don't get me wrong. But you have to ask yourself, well, why doesn't a coach that's been in the league 20 years, 25 years, doesn't get the opportunity? It is what it is. Now they're going with the young guys. It used to be where if you came from college, there was no way in hell. There was an exception here and there, but there was no way in hell you're going to get a job in the NFL. Now owners just fall for pretty much anything. And that's the problem that I personally see. Owners are so smart in so many ways, and obviously it shows with their financial prowess, but they can make some of the poorest decisions when it comes to the National Football League. And I don't care if it's black, white, brown, green, or orange. They just don't make very good decisions with it. And it's just sad. It's just absolutely sad that when we get back and we talk about the Eric Bieniemys of the world not having a job, every person that's breathing air that knows a little bit about football, no, that's a travesty in itself. But can't nobody doing that. Roger Goodell can't do anything, and neither can me, you, or anyone else. It has to be the owners or the players. And the players, they're the only entity in charge that can do something about it. And you're talking about, 21 to 32-year-olds. And, right now their focus is going to be on themselves, because the mirror is going to stay in their face, and that's the only person that they're worried about.
Just to finish up and tie a ribbon around this Bieniemy thing for a second here, do you think him leaving Kansas City puts him, gets him out of the shadow, if you will, of Andy Reid? Because let's face it, I'm not excusing in any form or fashion the fact that Bieniemy's not gotten a head coaching job, because I think it's criminal that he's not gotten one. Because this guy's paid his dues. He was a hell of a player. He's a good man. He's a leader. He's all those things you want in a head football coach in the National Football League. But some guys, you kind of get sort of like, overlooked, I think Bieniemy does oftentimes, because of Andy Reid. So does this make sense to get him out of that shadow a little bit? Ron Rivera, you talk about one of the best guys you're ever going to meet in your entire lifetime. There's no better guy on the planet than Ron Rivera. Now all of a sudden that offense belongs to Eric Bieniemy and Eric Bieniemy only.
Okay, here's the problem. Let me start by saying Josh McDaniels. Bill Belichick.
No question about it.
You look at Jason Garrett. How does these guys? Let me tell you how screwed up the system is. Josh McDaniels took a job, and didn't take the job at the same time.
Yep.
If that happened to an African American, Tom, it's over. It's over. You will never get a chance. And that just goes to show you how imbalanced the playing field is. And Eric Bieniemy going to the Washington Commanders, that is nothing but a parallel move. He's going from one genius to another genius. He's going from one great coach to another great coach. He will always be overshadowed by that great coach. It is just no excuse on why this guy, as well as others, you look at Steve Wilkes with the Carolina Panthers. The guy stabilized the team, actually won games, brought them to a level of respectability, and he still didn't get the job. So it speaks for itself, and it's unfortunately a part of our society, not just the NFL. And I don't think there will ever be a time that we're sitting back saying, remember when. If you want to look at the model of success, of balance and diversity, start with the NBA. The NBA has, women, men, gay, whatever it may be, they have it, and they truly not just talk the talk, they walk the walk, and they are to be, I just say they are to be commended for the way they have attacked diversity in a very sincere manner that, and that's why their product continues to thrive. But with the NFL, I guess it's the good and the bad of all this, Tom, but the NFL is just so damn good that it really truly doesn't matter. They can have a sense of arrogance that, other organizations, businesses, corporations can't get away with. I always say this with a smile on my face. There's only one or two people. It used to be two people that NFL was afraid of, and that was Jeff Bezos, who they're no longer because he has the Amazon deal with the league, and Elon Musk. Those are the only two guys could just turn around and say, you know what, I think I'm gonna buy the NFL. So those are the only two people that I think can ever do something about it. But then that creates a different set of challenges, problems, and questions. But that's my fun fact right there.
Tim, we always love having you on, man. You're the best. And we'll look forward to getting back with you here sometime soon. You take care of you and that family of yours, all right, my friend?
All right. Were you talking about Boy George earlier?
I was telling a story about, I could see you back in the day now. At Tennessee, I could see you back in the day, Tim, out there when, come a chameleon. I can see it.
Yeah, he was just in Fort Lauderdale, and they had a big parade down here, and he was down here as the headliner. So pretty cool that he's coming back.
Absolutely. I had a chance. I was telling a story. I had a chance. I was with Harry Carey back when I was announcing the Cubs games, and he was sitting at a table next to us where we were having lunch in New York City one day. And you and I are the same age roughly. We grew up with that, right? You get out on a dance floor, I can see you out there. I'm one of the great dancers of all time. I don't know if you're a very good dancer or not, but I'm one of the all-time greats. And so I had to go over and say hello to the guy.
That's pretty cool. And when you talk about the age, we're 24, 25, it's, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. That's right. All right, Tim, have a good weekend, man.
All right, brother. See you guys. Thanks for having me, Tim.
Tim's the best, man. He is the best. Can't you see him out there? He looked like Paul Fritzner at Xavier.
Oh, yeah.
But going back to Tennessee, way back there. All the ladies out there dancing around a little bit. Can't you see it? Look at Casey. He's got it going on over there. You a big dancer, Casey? If you're somewhere, like for example, now your wedding.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you having a band? Are you having a DJ? What do you have? You know yet?
DJ.
Okay. You have a DJ. So, outside of the customary traditional dance with the bride, the father dances with the bride, all that kind of stuff, the slow stuff. Are you taking any dance lessons, by the way, to get ready for that?
No.
Because we did that.
I don't need dance lessons.
We went to one of those, what are they, Murray. The dance places or studios. They're all over the country. Fred Murray, is that it?
No idea.
Okay, anyway. We did that because, we just wanted that one dance to be very nice. And it turned out, I have to say, you'd go 1 week and you were learning the merengue, and the next week you'd go on the cha-cha, and then you go do the two-step, and all this. You were learning all these as you went along. I would highly recommend that to any couple, and I sincerely mean this. I would highly recommend that to do that, not exclusively to lead up to your wedding. I'm just saying as something as a couple to go do that is really a lot of fun. There are other couples there too. You don't have to be a great dancer to go to it. I would recommend you consider it.
Well, then take some video, send it back, and we'll get it as content for the show.
I will say that I am a master class at Cotton Eye Joe.
Oh, my God.
That's my ultimate dance. You can ask my fiance. I don't know if she's watching.
So, in other words, if we played this, I got up and did the gritty early in the season, right?
You did.
I did. Not very well, but gave it a shot. All right? Swallowed my pride and got out there, and Brandon, graded me not doing so great, which is fine. He was right. But, boy, the player formerly known as Mouse Cop says, Casey, you should be fired for that. Oh my God, Casey. Now, if we play that song, would you get out here and give us a little rendition of that since you are master class, as you just said?
Well, I need a partner, too. You need a partner to do
Well, you could ask Alex to come in, right?
Yeah, sure. She can come in, and I'll do my hoedown on Cotton Eye Joe. What?
Nothing.
What's wrong with the hoedown?
There is not a darn thing wrong with a hoedown.
Everybody's got to have something, right? You gotta have some sort of go-to and a dance or whatever it is. You gotta have some sort of a party trick.
That's right.
That you can go to.
That's right.
Something that when you're in a big room of people, you can fall back on and you can be comfortable with because for good or bad, you're gonna kill it. Casey, that's the Cotton Eye Joe.
Cotton Eye Joe, but I also will just dance to anything.
So you will get out there. I mean, if you were, put your wedding part aside, but if you were somewhere, you and Alex are hanging out somewhere, whether it's at somebody's house and they get some music going, whatever it might be, and people are kind of dancing around a little bit, or you're in some, music club, whatever it might be, you would get out there comfortably.
Yes.
You're comfortable in your own skin. To get out. You weren't one of those guys in high school that was standing up against a wall, afraid to go ask some girl to dance.
No, but I do have a funny story about that.
Please.
All right.
So, in my sophomore year of high school, I asked this girl to go to the dance with me. She was a high school crush, and we barely danced the whole night. And I just thought, man, this is just going terribly, and I was a bit troubled back then. I just ended up leaving the dance and left her there. Yeah, it was going so bad that I ended up just leaving her. And she didn't know that I had left. Apparently, there was this guy there that just swooped her off her knees and her legs and just ended up getting married.
Or feet, one or the other.
Yeah, one of those body
parts. Knees, legs, feet. They're all attached.
They're all attached. Just one of those.
We got there eventually.
Forget that story. Anyways,
go and finish the story, and then we'll follow up the prosecution. We'll have questions for the witness here in a second.
I left the girl there. She ended up finding her next date there.
Swept off her knees.
Yes, right. And they ended up being together for a very long time. I ended up being a matchmaker without knowing it because I left the girl.
So wait a minute. You're a sophomore. I mean, look, it's proven. Right? Medically, it's proven. And some of the things in the brain, and men, young boys or teenage boys especially, make very bad decisions, more so than girls. So did you go to this girl's house and pick her up in a car beforehand and all that kind of thing with her mom and dad and take pictures and everything?
No, she came to my place, actually.
She picked you up?
Yeah.
And did you take pictures and all that?
Yes, we did. We did take pictures. They're probably on Facebook somewhere.
And so you then decide to leave her. I mean, just Houdini, we like to call it in my friend group, right? You pulled a Houdini, where all of a sudden you were there, and then poof.
The Irish goodbye.
Right, you're gone.
Yeah.
You felt no responsibility for her well-being, getting home, or?
Well, she had a ride home. I wasn't responsible for her to get home. But
is this one of those where the girls ask the guy?
No. Right. I had asked her.
They're trying to outlaw those now, in schools, right?
We did those every year.
Well, I mean, thank God we still do them at our high school, but a lot of high schools are getting rid of that. They don't want that kind of thing going on. Oh, no.
That's weird.
Can't have that. But, okay. So, Paul, would you be out there? Let me ask you this. Does Dana Gardens have where people can dance?
Oh, yeah. Plenty of room. Plenty of room. They actually.
But do people do it?
Depends on how crowded it is. Sure. Let's say yes.
No, it's either a yes or no question.
Well, I know where you're going
dozens,
with
if not
I know where you're going with
times.
this.
How about this? If you're at Tin Roof.
Hundreds, if not thousands, Tom. What?
If you're at Tin Roof.
There we go.
They're playing. There's a band up there, and they're asking people to dance. Are you up there dancing? If it's not too crowded. Are you up there in the front row?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't look pretty. It is bad. It's a bad
how I
scene. It is a horrific scene. But see, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to sit there and make myself feel bad and, like, stand in the back and have a bad time. I'm absolutely going to get up there and have a good time.
So you are.
Oh, yeah.
You're
it's going to be
cool
ugly.
Getting out there, no problem.
It's going to be ugly. Oh, yeah.
Well, it
it's
doesn't
not
matter
a good
if it's
scene.
ugly. See, that's the thing that young people don't understand. And I try, the kids today are getting out there in groups much more so than maybe we did, They all go to dances together. Sometimes they don't have dates, but there'll be like 20 of them. They just all decide, we're going to, the snowball dance tonight.
Sure.
And instead of everybody having a date, that's the way they do it. But they get out there, and look, it doesn't matter if you're any good. That's the thing. You can try to tell the young people, but they get uptight about, I'm not going to embarrass myself. I'm not going to look stupid, that sort of stuff. That's no different than it was when we were in high school. You were a little worried about feeling, looking stupid. But, Paul, you're a gamer.
Oh, yeah. You get me out there, yeah. I got no issue with it. It's just it just doesn't look good, but I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now
That's
I'm
how
not
I am
going to
too,
get
Paul.
it. I'm not going to.
Paul the Chippendale, says AJ.
That's it. Look, you hit the nail on the head, AJ. Hit the nail. I couldn't have described it better myself. That's exactly when you see me. That's what you think.
I fully expect him to be on my dance floor at my wedding.
Oh, Casey.
The whole night.
I will be there. So my party trick it's not really a party trick, but you get about 4 or 5, you're at Tin Roof. You drink through your shirt.
You what?
Yeah. It's,
You drink through your shirt?
yeah, you pull the shirt. You pull the shirt up and you put the beer through the shirt.
What would prompt that happening?
I don't know why it
I
started.
mean, you can stand there with a can of beer and dance, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
so-
works better with a bottle.
Well, can you do a demonstration? We got a White Claw over there if you want to.
Well, it would. I don't want to like flash the camera.
Well, what is the point of
There's no
putting
point,
a
Tom.
Okay.
There's no point.
It's just like something to do.
There's no point.
Okay.
There's no
It's
point.
just
You just get to a point in the night where everybody's been dancing and having a good time, and all of a sudden, the shirt just kind of goes over your head, and you just sort of drink through the shirt.
That's the party trick. The Frischster party trick.
It's not a good party trick. It's bad. But every once in a while, it's kind of funny.
I expect it at my wedding, so you better bring something that you can do it with.
It might make an appearance.
George says Paul might be a belly dancer.
Hey. Maybe. Oh, man, Mouse Cop. Chapter. That was back when Mount Adams was in its heyday.
Well, there's no doubt.
Chapter's
And
a Mexican restaurant
I was
now.
a part of all of it.
Pavilion's gone too.
I know.
Everything's gone.
But the two mainstays, now they aren't the dance club. It used to be back up there in Mount Adams, and I was up there. I once had the nickname the mayor of Mount Adams. I was living up there, and basically up there, Bill Hemmer and I were up there virtually every night. You had Chapter, you had the Pavilion, you had the, I'm drawing a blank on the Longworth up top. They had a dance area up there. But look, tried and true, outlast them all. Tortoise in the hare, right? Mount Adams Bar and Grill, Blind Lemon.
Yeah. It's the best.
Blind Lemon, the best, owned by Pat and Ed Shepard, and the best. The best. They've owned that place for over 50 years.
Crowley's is still there.
Crowley's, rock solid.
Crowley's is a
Yeah.
great spot.
Yep.
Crowley's
And all of you Jesuits and Catholics, the second you walk out of there after drinking yourself blind, you can walk across the street and get on your knees right there at the chapel.
Yeah. Immaculata. Been there many times. 2 cousins have gotten married there.
That's a big league place.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is lit up at night? Have you ever read that story, heard this
No.
story? You know how when you're driving by at night, it's all lit up, the cross at the
Yeah.
top of the chapel?
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a guy who lives across the river in northern Kentucky, right there along the river, who got married to his wife there It was either the 40th or 50th anniversary. They got married there, right? And from their place in northern Kentucky, they wanted to be able to see that church at night and the crucifix on top of the chapel. And so he bought the lights to light it up every single night.
Really?
Yeah. Learn something new every day, boys.
Great story.
Tom, I'm going to open up the lines for phone calls for the
All
last
right, let's
30
open
minutes
it
of
up
the show.
right now. Here you see the number. George wants to know if I ever went to Studio 54 in New York. No. That was a little bit before my time. A little bit before my time. And it bums me out because I would have loved that joint. Okay, here's a number. Now, it's a little convoluted. I mean, more than a little. Okay, but we're going to take a couple of phone calls. We're going to take a break first. I'm going to throw it to the Ham and Eggers, and then we'll have the last 30 minutes. This is almost like the Rush Limbaugh radio experience. Because Fridays were always caller days. So today, Friday, and moving forward, going to be our caller days. Okay. Fair enough?
Okay. Fair.
That works.
Okay. All right. So there's a number. You figure it out.
All right.
Right? I mean, you got to have a doctorate degree from MIT to get through this show.
The nuclear codes.
That's exactly right. Those are hidden away somewhere in the Biden policy Delaware, this code right here. So please dial it up and let's get to your phone calls right around the corner. Ham and Eggers, all yours.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Casey, do you have anything that we have not gotten to that we need to get to?
Well, the title of the show is actually NFL, MLB, XFL, NBA, and MLS all today. And we have not gotten to any of the other leagues besides the NFL. So I'm going to just briefly, quickly, rapid fire some stuff, some thoughts. First off.
You have XFL thoughts?
Well, I'm excited to watch it. Just the first opening weekend.
When does it start?
I'm pretty sure it's this weekend.
Okay.
And
Did not know that.
I think that A.J. McCarron.
It does. It starts tomorrow.
Yeah, A.J. McCarron is playing a old Bengal. He almost won us a playoff game. Plays for the Battlehawks, St. Louis Battlehawks. I'm very excited to watch that.
How many teams are there, Casey? I don't know one single thing about this league, besides the fact that The Rock owns it, doesn't he? I think The Rock has something to do with it.
Yeah, there's eight teams.
8 teams.
And
DC has a team.
Yep,
DC Defenders. I'm in. What's the odds on the DC Defenders to win the XFL? Can I do this live? Does Betfred Sportsbook offer the XFL?
I don't know if they do yet.
I don't know.
But this league has got players like Josh Gordon.
They do not.
Kalen Ballage. There's some different guys around the league that Paxton Lynch. I'm excited. I'm a big football guy. I know most people probably won't care as much unless you're super big football fans like me.
What is a Brahma? The San Antonio Brahmas? What is a Brahma? Is that like a bowl? Is that the thing, the Rocks? I think as I talk that through, I think that's a Brahma chicken.
It's a chicken.
There's no way.
So it's kind of like the Gamecocks. It's a Brahma, right?
Yeah, but this logo looks like a bowl. This logo looks like it's like a.
Well, what's the helmet look like?
It does look like a chicken wing.
I'm assuming it's like a Gamecock then.
I have no idea. All right, these names though are elite: Guardians, Roughnecks, Defenders, Renegades, Brahmas, Dragons, Battlehawks, Vipers. Okay, so that's the XFL. What else you got for us?
I'm kind of worried NBA wise. You know how much I love the Mavericks.
I thought so. The Brahma Bulls. I thought it was a Rock connection. I just didn't want to say it for sure. I did not know that was that. Okay.
But Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, since playing together, have not won a ball game yet. That worries me. I hope that gets straightened out. And also, I'm excited to watch Kevin Durant with the Phoenix. I'm excited for that. NBA All-Star.
Are you an NBA All-Star guy?
I probably would have been long ago, but now it's kind of
dunk contest is awful.
Yeah, now it's just terrible.
Bad. It's so bad. Bad.
I wish it was better. But I don't think these games, like like we said before, like the Pro Bowl and the All-Star games, they can't be good anymore. And we're at a different time now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the other thing, the other two leagues, MLB, I found the article from ESPN really interesting about how the pitch clock will impact famous baseball moments. If you haven't, take some time to read that. It's kind of interesting.
It is actually pretty interesting. So just to go off that a little bit more, ESPN did a big breakdown of how the pitch clock that's going to be instituted this year would have affected previous big moments in baseball. We won't go through them all. They did a litany of moments, but it was just kind of fun. Part of the fun of being a sports fan is going back and playing the what if game, as I always say. So that was kind of fun. We don't have any calls yet, so if anybody wants to call in, feel free to call in.
We certainly invite you to call in. Boom Shakalaka says, I'm not a big NBA guy, as Jerry Naron used to say. He's a baseball guy. But I have to admit that Casey has got me tuned into the NBA a little bit more. Or illegal gambling, perhaps, has me tuning into the NBA a little bit more.
Well, the gambling part does really help, but I think you start developing like somewhat of a fandom because you want players to succeed because you're betting on them a lot. Like here recently, I've been betting a lot of Celtics as of late, and I don't really like the Celtics, so it's kind of weird. But
who are the top 5 teams in the NBA right now?
I would say the Celtics are probably up there.
Yep. So the Celtics are
Nuggets,
probably the best team in the league. The Bucks are the second in the East. Are we going to do the Sixers song and dance again? Are we going to do that? We need to collectively.
Definitely not. Go ahead.
I love Embiid,
Any
though.
team, no.
We need to collectively decide if we're gonna do this whole Sixers thing again.
So it's Boston, Bucks, 76ers, Cleveland, Nuggets, Grizzlies. Those are probably your top 5 teams.
Kings are having a great year out in the West. Kings are having a really nice year. I don't know if they're title contenders.
All right. Well, I read the story where now Kevin Durant's getting ready to suit him up after the big trade with the Suns. I was out there when that trade happened. There were a lot of people really excited. There were a lot of people that weren't so excited. They liked those young players the Suns gave up in that deal. Right? I mean, they really like these guys. But they feel like that, Phoenix needed, the powers that be felt like the Suns needed to go get Durant. And now all of a sudden Durant says this is an NBA title kind of team.
I think it's an NBA title team. I mean, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, I think those two together along with Michael Bridges. Or no, they traded him, didn't they?
Yep.
Chris Paul.
Yep, Chris Paul. He's still there.
Yeah, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul, and then you add in Kevin Durant. I mean, that's a good team.
Super team's never gone wrong before.
Never, ever. But
I
like.
Think back to that whole thing where they brought in what? Kyrie, Durant, and Harden.
They played 16 games together, and they went 13-3 in those 16 games over how many years?
Yeah,
what could have been.
Yeah, what could have been, but it never was. Okay, we got anybody dialing up yet?
Nope.
Not yet.
No one
Okay.
yet.
Well, we're inviting your phone calls, and again,
The nuclear code is on the screen.
yeah, there it is. I'm trying to figure it out just like you are.
Nick Couch makes a good point. Celtics fan, but don't sleep on Denver. I mean, night in and night out, Denver is one of the most competitive teams in the league. 41-18 on the year.
I mean, it's the joke, man.
Yeah, Jokic.
But I mean, I watched the Celtics the other day. They were playing the Grizzlies, and when they're on, dude, they just drain threes all day long. I mean, they reminded me a lot of the Warriors way back when. I mean, Warriors can still pull off something here at the end of the season, but they've just never been the same. I think they've been kind of plagued with injuries. It looks like we're getting someone dialed in, so let me try to screen them real quick.
All right. Well, we've many of you on the chat. We appreciate it. And we still have locks of the night coming up, or perhaps locks of the weekend.
We do.
coming
Yes.
up from
So-
Paul and Casey.
So just so you know, college basketball lines don't come out until about 18 hours before a game. So for Saturday and Sunday, I can give you an idea of what a line will be, and then we'll just go from there and do like 3 or 4 games.
That'd be great. Let's
right.
do that because, and by the way, we have to make an official presentation, which I'm prepared to do at any time, for your charity of choice for winning the football pool. It's
Okay,
$1,000
Yeah.
to your charity of choice.
I mean, yeah, Special Olympics is the charity of choice.
All right, well, then we're going to have to get I will bring in a check next week,
Okay.
and we will do it in Paul Fritchner's name.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, as I have said before, if you weren't listening before, I mean, Special Olympics is. My dad helped create Special Olympics golf. He and one other guy were the 2 founding guys for Special Olympics golf, and my parents met at a Special Olympics event. My uncle has Down syndrome, so it's been super important to me, and
Yep.
I've volunteered with Special Olympics forever. It's a great organization, and especially here in Southwest Ohio, they do a really, really good job around in this area and in the state of Ohio too. So, yeah, it's been near and dear to my heart. They do a great job, and with the sports aspect of it too, especially with this show, it's kind of all ties in.
Special Olympics is unbelievable to go watch.
Yeah,
Just to sit and watch. You don't even have to have any skin in the game, meaning a relative or whatever it might be. The joy is just, I mean, whether you're first or last,
yeah,
the joy is indescribable, and it's beautiful to see.
you go to an event and it's just every athlete is always so happy.
So happy.
If you want just a pick-me-up in life and just pure joy for
No
3
doubt.
or 4 hours, nobody's ever in a bad mood. Nobody ever gets down on themselves. Sometimes they get frustrated.
Sure.
Right? Sometimes there's some frustration, but they're never in a bad mood. It's always a great experience. And, yeah, if you're ever looking for an opportunity to volunteer, I know Special Olympics around here in this area is always looking for volunteers, whether it's umpires or whether it's coaches. And the other thing, too, and this is something that I have done for years since I was in high school, is like if you're a golfer, they're always looking for partners, golf partners. So maybe say that there's an athlete with Down syndrome. How they do it is they play partner golf. So the athlete is paired. The athlete is whoever has special needs. The athlete is paired with a partner.
Sure.
And you can just volunteer. And I know many people that don't have any connection to their partner that they have played with for now decades, and their families have become close. And it's just because they wanted to volunteer one day, they got randomly paired up, and then that family and the other family have become close. Like there are great stories from that. So if you ever just want to play golf on a Saturday afternoon and want to have some fun with some good people, there's always that option on the
And
table.
I'm sure you can find out exactly where to do that by going just to the Special Olympics website.
Yep, Special Olympics website, and Ty Bradshaw too with the Miracle Leagues here. It's not exactly Special Olympics, but Alex points it out. Ty's been great with us here at Chatterbox. He's hosted coaches shows, the game day show. What he's doing with the Joe Nuxall Miracle Field, which is all in that kind of same vein. That's great work here around in Hamilton. So it's all good stuff.
Ty's our buddy.
Oh, he is.
Nobody on the planet you like to give a bunch of heat to more than Ty Bradshaw.
He's the man.
He is a great dude.
He gave me my first shot in broadcasting.
Really?
Outside of Xavier. Yeah, he hired me. I was the voice of the Hamilton Joes back in 2016. And I got to meet Ty. Now it's kind of come full circle here with Chatterbox. So, yeah, Ty's a great guy.
He is an awesome dude.
Yeah.
Awesome guy. Okay, who do we have? Do we have a caller?
Yes, we have Boom.
Boom, he's back on.
Boom, what's happening, my man?
Fellas, what's up?
How you doing?
Good. Hey, that's a top-notch facility down there at the Miracle League Fields. You all been down there?
Yes, sir. It's an unbelievable place.
They're talking about adding a indoor basketball, big old indoor facility as well.
Yeah, I mean, they just continue to do an unbelievable job up in this area, and all of the people that have been with them as far as their big sponsors and donors and all that kind of. I mean, it really is. It's unbelievable. I mean, all the different things you can think of, electric, plumbing, construction. All of that was done free of charge by different business owners in and around Hamilton, Fairfield, Greater Cincinnati. Those people donated all of that to make those fields, plural, happen, and it sounds like now a basketball facility.
It's going to be top notch. Hey, a few housekeeping items. Have we decided on a tip-off time yet for Chatterbox and Headlines?
We did talk about that. We need you to broadcast it, Tom. It's a Chatterbox Headlines basketball game. Haven't figured out when and where
Broadcast
yet.
it?
Yeah. Just stream it. Unless you want to play in it. You want to
Well,
play?
what, are you kidding? Of
We didn't want to
course I would
volunteer
play
you.
in it.
We didn't want to put you on the spot.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, let's go. This is even better.
Us
Tom,
against
are
the
you
guys out there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Boom. Forgive me.
No, you're fine. Are you in? Because I bought 2 courtside seats. So
I am definitely in, Boom. You and I'll hang out when I need a breather as a 59-year-old man, maybe going up and down the court 7, 8, 10 times. I might just steal one of your 2 seats or sit on your lap.
yeah, I'll have the cooler. We'll be good. Hey, another question. Paul, who do you think realistically has a chance to win the national title?
I say there are 3 teams. There are 3 teams in my mind that I would look at as national title contenders. One is Houston. That's an easy one. The other one is Alabama. That's an easy one. And then I'm going to give you one because I could sit here and say Purdue. I could sit here and say I could list any of those top teams off. I don't hate Baylor. I really don't hate Baylor as a team that kind of is coming out of nowhere, not out of nowhere when they're 20-6 and in the Big 12. But I don't hate Baylor as a team that might creep up on some people that you haven't heard a ton about this year. I think the coaching is way too good with Scott Drew. Most of their losses came early in the season. They started 0-3 in the Big 12, and since then only 1 loss. They're 9-1 in their last 10 in the Big 10, or in the Big 12. So I like Baylor. I like Baylor a lot.
There's obviously fantastic teams, but when it comes down to winning a title, I think everybody agrees there's only a handful of teams that can actually pull it off. So, but you look at Purdue right now, and then you look at some of the other teams, and it's like, all right, who actually is capable of pulling this thing off?
Well, Boom, you obviously follow it. Who do you think? I mean, Paul just gave his 3 or 4 teams he thinks that are in that mix. Who do you think's in that mix?
I like Houston. I think Kansas is getting hot. Don't tell Trace. But I think Houston's got some good guards. I'm more of a baseball guy. Happy opening day, by the way. So, but I think right now I'd like to see Houston win it. Well, somebody different, not one of your typical blue bloods.
And it's in Houston too. The national championship is in Houston. It'd be a home game.
All right, Boom, let me ask you something here real quick before we let you go and get to our next call. Since you're a baseball guy, you just said that. What is your what is your expectation of the Reds this season?
I think they're going to surprise people. Obviously, you got to stay healthy. I think that goes with any sport or any team. But I really think I think they're still a couple years away, but I don't think they're going to be in the bottom of the division. I think they've got the 3 studs that they can build around. Maybe find somebody to sneak up in spring training, take one of the other spots, and they got to stay healthy, right? You got to pitch it. You got to keep it inside the park when you can. But I really, really like the core group that it hasn't been fun getting to this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
With some of the drama and whatever the front office is saying, and just some of the other moves that they've made. That hadn't been fun, but I think Jonathan India is going to have a heck of a year. I think he's even made the comments he wants to be better than his rookie year.
Mm-hmm. And I assume you like the decision, the way they're going to handle Tyler Stevenson this year.
Yeah, I do. I think Joey Votto's gotta do something, right? Like let's put some runs up on the board. He's gotta. We got to get the most out of him in our last year, but I think between Stevenson, India, De La Cruz, I think they've got. You're going to have to hit lightning in a bottle, right? I mean, That's how. You look back to the Marlins back in the '90s, and you're going to have to be one of those teams. You're not just going to outslug and outpitch everybody. You're going to have to stay healthy, but that's part of it, right?
Absolutely. All right, Boom. We thank you. Bring a little baseball talk to the show. Second time we've had him, and Boom. I guess you're the second most famous Indiana State alum behind Larry Bird. Is that right?
I don't know if I'd go that route. Hey, I got a funny story. I went to a junior college the first 2 years, so then I went to Indiana State the senior year. So I'm taking sport management, go to class, decent-looking blonde girl sitting next to her, go around, syllabus day, figuring out who's who, and the last name Bird pops up. I'm like, are you by chance related to Larry Bird? So for the next 2 years I had class with her. I was trying to, I went on eBay, got a Larry Bird jersey, but she would not take it to her family Thanksgiving and get it signed for me.
How about that?
Bird,
How about that?
I was like, just take this jersey. Real cool girl, but I was like, just take this jersey to Thanksgiving, get it signed. She's like, no, I'm not taking this to Thanksgiving and getting you it signed. So, I quit talking to her after that. I mean, what was the point?
I don't blame you. Hell, I wouldn't talk to her either. I mean, she can't even just take the thing, stick it under her arm, show up, and just say, hey, can you sign this for a classmate of mine? I don't blame you.
Yeah, part of your graduation requirements, or you have to have an internship. So we're going around and saying we're toward the end of the year, everybody's where are you getting an internship? Somebody's going Boys and Girls Club and this and that, YMCA. We get to her, I'm going to the Pacers. Like, oh, no kidding.
All right, Boom, that's a great story, my man. You have a great weekend, all right?
Hey, cheers, fellas. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Boom.
Great to hear from Boom once again. We still have a few minutes if any of you want to get in. You see the number up there on the screen to call. Let me ask you this, Paul, and I don't think I've asked you this point blank.
Sure.
What is your expectation for Xavier in the tournament? Realistically now, okay, take off the blue glasses.
No.
Take them off.
No. I think that with a healthy team, Xavier is a second weekend team. I do, and from there it just depends on the bracket. But with a healthy team, you get Des Claude back, who it sounds like should be back soon. In fact, he may play tomorrow. I haven't heard anything, but he may play tomorrow against DePaul. You get Fremantle back, and you get him to 100% before the tournament. That's a big thing because just because he comes back doesn't mean he's going to be at 100%.
That's right.
So you get him back, you get him at 100%, and you're rolling into March Madness as maybe a 4 or a 5 seed. You get him there as a 4 seed. You win your first game and you have a decent matchup against a 5 or against a, what would that be? Against a 4 or 5, 3 or 6, depending on where you end up in that second round. I mean, you're a second weekend team, and from there it's just maybe you get lucky with some upsets or whatever. The offense has the ability to carry them. The defense has looked better, especially against Marquette.
Yep.
But I do think that this is a second weekend team. I think all the Big East teams at their peak can be second weekend teams, but we'll see how it all shakes out. I do think that Xavier is going to be pretty matchup dependent in the tournament, which does make me a little nervous. But we'll see.
Okay. All right. You think that's the way most Xavier fans feel? They get back healthy. They should be playing the second weekend. So Sweet 16, perhaps Elite 8.
I would say Sweet 16 is very realistic for this team if everybody is healthy and they're playing as they have been playing for this Big East season.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We have another call, Casey.
We do.
Who we have?
Hey, Tom, it's Sir Boy. How you doing this morning?
Sir Boy, how are you, my man? Great to have you back with us. How's everything?
Doing great. Just listening to the show. It's been a great show so far. I love Tim McGee this morning. I thought it was very good what he had to say about the free agency and all that.
Yeah.
Paul, quick question. It seems like college basketball has gotten so more spread out than it used to, because it always seemed like when I was growing up, like you'd have Georgetown, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, teams like that. They would all go they would go the whole season and then they would lose like their first game in like the beginning of February, and they would only end up losing like 3 games all year. Would you attribute that basically to everyone now with the transfer portal, NIL, stuff like that, why teams are starting to lose more games earlier in the season now?
Well, there is more. I do think there is more parity now in the last few years. I mean, you think back to the Kentucky team that was 38-0. You think back to the Gonzaga team that went to the national championship undefeated. You haven't seen an undefeated team since, what was it, 3-4 decades? But at the same time, I do think that there is more talent just overall in general in the sport. There's way more talent. And the talent in Division I is much better than it may have been a couple of decades ago. And the other thing, too, is you look at the scheduling, think about all of those early season tournaments like Maui or like this year the PK85 in Portland. You're getting all of these big teams together earlier in the season, which creates the ability to lose some games. And you're not seeing these top-tier teams that maybe aren't as elite as some of the older teams might have been, just congested at the top with all of the players going to one place. The players realize that if you're an elite player now in the transfer portal, like let's say you go to a mid-major school for 2 years, you perform really well, you can transfer to a high-major school. Look at Xavier, Sule Boom. He goes to UTEP. Well, it started at San Francisco. Then he goes to UTEP. Now he's at Xavier. Now you're talking about a guy that it could potentially go as an undrafted free agent. And that has become the path for a lot of these guys, that you can now start lower, build your career, go to the top. And that just creates more parity overall in college basketball, creates a better sport, a better product. I think that's where you're seeing it. But again, when you talk about losing your first game in the beginning of February, a lot of that just has to do with the scheduling now at the beginning of the season, where you have football and all these things that you're competing with. College basketball realize we need to start putting a lot of these marquee games earlier on in the season to generate some interest in the sport, and therefore you have Feast Week and all these others when a lot of these bigger teams catch some losses.
And then I was going to ask you about Miami. Man, they look like a really great team. When I watched them the last couple of weeks, is there any chance you see them making it past the Sweet 16, possibly getting to the Elite Eight, Final Four, or no?
No doubt they can. Their computer numbers kind of worry me. Kind of make me wonder if they are if they're kind of a flash in the pan.
The ACC is terrible.
Yeah. The ACC being terrible is what worries me, because the ACC is truly terrible. It's really bad. But Miami looks very good. I just don't know if the ACC is as bad as they really do look when you watch them night in and night out, or if maybe Miami is just so much better and they, they're competing there with Virginia at the top. I mean, Miami's won 5 games in a row. So can they turn around and get it done? We'll see.
All right, sir, boy, we appreciate the call. We're going to try to sneak in one more. You have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, my friend.
All right, gentlemen, take it easy. I appreciate it.
Always great having Sir Boy Wonder. It's a real man. It's a real man. That's exactly right. All right, we got one more case. Is that right?
Yep, one more.
Okay, who we have?
Let me bring him in right now. Hang on one second.
Okay.
All right. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with?
Your best friend.
Oh. That's Thomas.
Thomas, I'm sorry you had to go out of town a couple of times with Casey. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Obviously, you're more important in his life than Alexandria.
Oh, of course. Hey, I just wanted to, wish my best friend a happy birthday tomorrow, because it's his birthday.
Ooh.
Thank you.
We'll get to that in a minute. Thank you, Tomas.
And then, secondly, you guys were talking about dance moves earlier. You got to ask him about when he was doing the whipping nay-nay while we were in high school.
Whipping nay-nay? Uh-oh. I'm going to have to tell another story.
Yeah, because that was always entertaining.
Yeah, so...
Well, Tomas, thank you for the call. So please, Casey.
Yeah.
That was the whip and the nay-nay that was going on at the same time, right? Watch me whip.
Yes.
Watch me nay-nay, right?
Yeah.
Right?
So that was
What do you think about that ball? Pulled it out on you. Surprised you, didn't I?
You did. Never fail, Tom.
You never fails.
Yeah, so in my senior year of high school, that song was at the peak.
It was impressive.
It was great.
It was at the peak of its popularity.
Yes.
And we had this math teacher. Her name was I won't name drop because we're not supposed to name drop.
The
on
math
on-
teacher.
But she,
Hello, teacher.
you could convince her to do anything. And I one day got her to play the song in class, and I was going to demonstrate how to do the dance. So in the middle, this is like the first or second week of school, I'm up in the middle of class doing the dance. Whip.
I know how to do it.
And
Right.
She just got a kick out of that. And
Did she join you?
No, she just,
Was she young?
no, she was just really gullible and manipulatable.
She hot?
No.
Okay.
No, so just there's a lot of funny stories with that teacher, but
Okay. All right. Thomas, thank you very much. We're winding down. Thanks for the call. Come back, please. We'd love to have you back.
Will do.
All right, buddy. All right. That's good stuff. AJ liked that story. Tomas, dialed in. All right. What do we got to get in here in our last 3 minutes?
Well, cherry on top, I was just gonna wish Casey a happy birthday. Don't think I forgot, Casey. We were waiting until the end.
thank you.
Happy birthday, Casey. You doing
Happy
anything
birthday,
fun?
Casey. So what are the big plans? I mean, you gave us the Valentine's Day, itinerary the other night on how you, you fired up the grill for the first time
Yeah.
and big, the steaks and had it all going. So what about for the birthday? What do you got happening?
Well, tonight,
If anything.
tonight I'm actually trying to go watch Ant-Man, the new one.
The what?
Ant-Man, the new Ant-Man that just came out, the Quantumania, Marvel
Okay.
movie.
If you say so.
Yeah. I'm
Is that
gonna go.
Adamant? Go ahead.
I'm gonna try to watch that this Saturday or Friday, and then this Saturday I'm gonna try to go out. Depends on if my lame friends, not including Thomas in that conversation, but my other lame friends.
So
will
is
come
this
with
another
me.
one of those deals, if I'm hearing you right before we send it over to Box Lunch, if I heard you right, and I'm trying very hard to be a better listener, did I hear you right in saying that you're going out with your fiance tonight to a movie? Is that a dinner or a movie?
I'm gonna try to go with her side of the family, the in-laws, including my fiance. We're
Tonight.
gonna go. Yeah, that's kind of a tradition. We like to go watch the Marvel movies.
Okay. And then
when-
tonight you're out. It's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow
the
night
goal
is
would be out with the boys.
Yes, maybe we'll go hit up the brass ass or something.
Oh,
Wow, that came out of nowhere. Holy Moses. You ought to reach out to Tracer.
it's not even
Yeah.
noon on a Friday.
Never too early.
Never too early.
No, never too early. 5 o'clock somewhere.
Of course.
Okay. Well, happy birthday in all sincerity.
Thank
and
you.
I know that everybody around here wishes you the same. Time for Box Lunch. Now, where's your partner in crime here today, Reed? Where is Trace?
Trace has to see about some meetings. He's got some business meetings to take care of, so it's just going to be me on today.
What
With
about
these guys,
two?
well, just no Trace. But I mean, these guys as well, but no Trace.
Okay. All right. What do you got going on?
Oh, we're going to talk about, the quarterback carousel, where these quarterbacks are going to go in the NFL. We're going to talk about if anyone cares about the XFL. Do you care about the XFL?
You know what? I love football. I mean, I didn't watch a lot of it last year, and I was thinking, it's funny, you asked this question because I was thinking about this last night. I really don't watch much sports on television. I was really thinking to myself.
Besides the Muskies.
Yeah, playing the 11th ranked team in the country the other night. I really don't, except for football.
You don't sit
I
down
mean,
for-
I don't watch any, I never watch. Well, I'm not going to say never because I watched the other night. Rarely ever watch any college basketball. I couldn't watch baseball last summer because I have YouTube TV. I couldn't get Bally's.
You didn't get the Marquee Sports Network to watch our Cubbies?
No, I did not. Nor will I this year. But with this job now, I'm going to have to start watching a little bit more, especially as we get close to tournament time. Now, we'll watch the NCAA tournament, no doubt about that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's great because we're going to be in here doing the show, right? We get off at noon, and then the games fire up like
Boom.
10 minutes later. First game right out of the gate, Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's right around the corner. Right around the corner.
Is there a better time of the year, sports fan-wise, than March Madness?
Yes.
What's better?
It's better, by far better in the fall.
With the Saturday.
You got the baseball playoffs, postseason. You got the startup of college football and the NFL. I mean,
I can't disagree. I can't disagree.
High school football cranking up.
No doubt.
It's November,
Baden.
right?
Ross.
Yeah.
When does
The Mighty Warriors.
When does the MLB playoffs start?
Had to change our logo.
October.
Okay, so I was gonna say November is the best time because that's also the start of the NBA season, right?
Well, you're starting college hoops and all that, but by that time, the baseball postseason is just coming to an end. But all of those happen within about a 3-week time frame.
No doubt.
Right? So, I mean, for me, a lot of people feel like the start of baseball in the spring, NCAA tournament, that's the best time. And look, if that's your thing, I get it. And I know that's your thing.
I do love baseball.
Those are your sports.
I do love baseball. I do love college basketball.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep.
I don't know.
Hopefully you guys still have your houses or apartments or condos, whatever it is, with all the gambling leading up to March Madness.
Well,
good luck.
Of course. Thanks.
Thanks,
all right.
Tom.
All right, boys. Thanks. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Tom. You too.
Thanks,
Adios.
All right.
I must admit, I didn't think much of this show the first time I laid eyes on it. Seemed like a bunch of stiffs wasting nice
The worst trade
microphones.
of all time happened back in 1803. Go ahead. Napoleon Bonaparte traded the Louisiana Purchase for $3 million. Napoleon, what happened? Half the country for $3 million. You can't even get Tucker Barnhart for $3 million.
Then I came to realize these guys are funny.
And Justin Fields have identical stats the last 5 weeks about throwing the football. This guy, okay,
And
folks,
are
is a
some of the
fidget
best
spinner.
gamblers I've come to know.
If you're betting on USC and or TCU, let it be known you are a square.
TCU is going to hammer this team tomorrow night.
I hate to hear that.
Tomorrow
When we come back
afternoon.
in here on Monday, you're going to be happy as a lark because USC lost, but you're going to be wrong about TCU.
Get ready for the most useless hour of your day. It's time for Boxed Lunch, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Now, Casey, run that track.
Hello and welcome to the Box Lunch presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Reed Mouse, you're in the chair instead of Trace Fowler. As we mentioned, he's got to go do some meetings, so it's just going to be me. And we've got, of course, Paul Fritzner, Casey McAllister. Guys, how are you today?
Good.
That was a great 2 hours of entertainment that you guys put on right there.
We tried.
Yeah, we definitely tried. I mean, without there being much discussion about basketball coming up, because there's no NBA coming up except for the All-Star. And
How much do we talk about the NBA on this program?
You
do.
I do.
You
but
carry this program with the NBA, Casey.
You
not-
spearhead.
not-
You
not even a
spearhead
lot. It's not a lot to. I don't talk about it hardly at all, so it's not hard to carry it. But with basketball,
Did you hear
there's
that,
not-
Reed?
What?
He just said it's not hard to carry it because we don't know anything about the NBA.
I
That's
did
true.
not say.
Well, that's
that. We
true.
just
I'm
don't
not
talk
going to
about
act like I know anything about the NBA. You can ask me to name 25 NBA players. Probably couldn't do it. Truly, probably couldn't do it. Now, ask me to name like 200 baseball players. I could probably do that right off the rip. But AJ Worse was asking, what happened to the track? I like that addition. And, some new news found out. I didn't know this beforehand, before Thomas came on the show. But, Casey, your birthday is tomorrow.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
So, in honor of that, I think me and Paul have to sing you a little happy birthday.
We are.
Do you want it at the beginning of the show? Do you want it at the end of the show? Do you want it to conclude it? Or do you want it right now? When do you want your birthday song?
I'll be happy regardless.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Casey.
Happy birthday to you. Casey, what's your cake of choice?
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake. Love it. Any just New York style straight cheesecake.
Yeah, just plain. I could do a strawberry with it as well.
Okay. I hate the little raspberry sauce that they give it. All right, let's get into sports. So obviously,
Sports.
we love it here. Chatterbox.
For men.
Chatterbox.
Sports.
There it is. Needed to pick it up. So in the NFL, obviously the official offseason has started. It started for the other 30 teams before this, but now it is in full gear. So now we have the coaching carousel that happens in January. Now we're doing the QB carousel. Where are these quarterbacks going to end up? And I want to know what your guys' opinions are on a couple of the marquee free agents or marquee QB names that could be going to some other teams. So if you guys will indulge me, let's go with the number one quarterback on everyone's radar. He's in a dark shed, a dark cave somewhere in the middle of nowhere. That is Aaron Rodgers, former MVP, former Super Bowl champion. If you guys had to put a pin on where you think he's going to wind up, where would you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing quarterback next year? Or do you think he's going to retire?
If I had to guess, there's two teams that make sense, that fit his needs. One being the Raiders, going back to reunite with Devontae Adams.
Sure.
Now the problem with that is the Raiders would have to probably trade the bank, the house, to get him.
Which we all lost in recent weeks gambling.
Yes, so it would be tough.
Damn right.
That and Josh McDaniels is just, I don't know if Rodgers would want to do that. The other option to me that makes sense outside of the Packers is the Jets. I think that's a team that's a quarterback away.
Where do you see him going, though?
I see him actually the more and more I think about it, the more I think he actually just stays with the Packers, especially after what Aaron Jones just did. I mean, he restructured his contract to free up some more cap, and that's usually a sign that they're trying to keep Rodgers.
It's hilarious what has happened with this whole Aaron Rodgers thing, that it draws back to when I was 10 years old and you're constantly tuning into SportsCenter and ESPN, and you get into, is Brett Favre going to retire or is he staying? Where's he going? Oh, he's going to the Jets. Oh, he's going to stay around. It's the exact same thing 16 years later, almost, with Aaron Rodgers now. Paul, if you had to guess where Aaron Rodgers is going to go, or do you not have an opinion on it?
It's just so hard for me to see him going anywhere besides Green Bay, and that would lead me to more of a retirement situation. But does he? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm gonna say that he either sticks in Green Bay or retires.
What is that tea that makes you, that he frequently does, that is a drug, hallucinogen?
Ayahuasca?
I don't know how to pronounce it, so
okay.
Ayahuasca. So I needed that for it. Thank you, Paul.
Oh, okay. I thought you were okay. All right.
Casey, your birthday's tomorrow. You taking any ayahuasca? Is that on the Casey? Tomorrow, you have yet to go see your coworker.
I know.
You've yet to see him shine on the Centos floor, and they play tomorrow. You could go for your birthday. They play DePaul. Go see DePaul and Paul.
It's okay, Casey. You don't have to justify yourself.
It's okay to admit that you hate Paul.
I am sad, and I know that you do hate me, but it is okay. I understand.
I don't hate you.
There's only going to be one game left, the Butler game, senior night, one of the most crowded games of the year, maybe. We'll get you there. Two Saturdays from now.
2 Saturdays.
Not next Saturday, the Saturday after.
I love how college just still have senior night. I love that.
Yeah.
I low-key call every end of the last home game of the Bengals season senior day. Yeah. I wish they would, like, the free agents that were going to be potential free agents, like, just having, Jesse Bates come on out with his family, get some flowers for his mom. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. If you had to ask me, back to the topic that we were talking about, if you had to ask me where I think Aaron Rodgers is going to wind up, it seems overwhelmingly that he's going to end up in Green Bay again, and they're just going to run it back. But if he does leave, I don't see him in New York. I see him going to the Raiders, and that's going to be a fun team. Though he's going to go to the AFC, which just creates an even more void in the NFC. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But the next guy, speaking of Raiders, where can you see Derek Carr end up? He officially announced his release. There are several teams. The Jets are the team that it seems to be on everybody's mind because they don't have a quarterback. Zach Wilson couldn't win them ball games. He was terrible. Even though he had a winning record, it was because of the team around him, not because of his own play. So every free agent is going to be linked to the Jets in some way. But I see Derek Carr could make sense in the Meadowlands. Where do you guys think Derek Carr is going to wind up?
Ooh, just looking at all the different potential teams.
Get him to Washington. Eric Bieniemy, get him to Washington.
You know, I don't know about Washington. I think Derek Carr is going to want to go somewhere that he thinks he can compete, right? So, you know what? I'm gonna break some Indianapolis Colts Hearts fans because this would not be good for them.
No.
But my dark horse is actually the Colts. I mean, it's in their blood. It's in
Why
their DNA.
would that break the Colts' heart?
Well, I mean, then they're giving up potentially getting like a C.J. Stroud or a Will Levis or a Bryce Young or you know.
You want a spicy place where Derek Carr can land, and I could see this working out. Tennessee. Ryan Tannehill's kind of ran his course there. They've seen the peak that is Ryan Tannehill's Titans. Get Derek Carr in there. Though he's not as consistent as Ryan Tannehill, he's a better playmaker then. He can get you in those bigger games, winning those bigger games. And you're not asking as much as the Raiders asked of him to do because you have Derrick Henry, though Derrick Henry is aging. So him going to Tennessee, though, won't happen. It's not going to happen. Would be a potentially great fit. This is a team that has been a playoff team for the past couple of years. We're the number one seed in the AFC a season ago. And they're going to upgrade at quarterback with Derek Carr. I'm a Derek Carr believer. I think he's one of the 10, right on the edge of 10 best quarterbacks in the league. I think he makes some foolish mistakes, but I think he makes the big play more often than not. So I would love to see him in Tennessee. Once again, going to the AFC and making it just even more end-loaded.
I mean, the way that he was already cut, right? He was officially cut.
Yes, he did not want to be traded.
So I think the best case scenario for him is to go to the AFC South. I think that he can compete there. Tennessee makes a whole lot of sense. I think, Tennessee makes a lot of sense now you bring it up. That's a very weak division. I think they can compete against the Jags. I mean, they almost beat the Jags. Let's not kid ourselves. And they would have been the wild card, the 7th seed wild card. Or no, they would have been the 4th seed. They would have won the AFC South. They just win the last week of the season. So, I like that. I like that a lot. But the other one, first off, if I can just list the teams that I'm thinking off the top of my head that need a quarterback: Texans, Panthers.
Texans are going to draft.
Colts, Raiders, which he's not going to be there. New Orleans Saints, he already denied that. The Jets.
The Saints got Andy.
They got Red Rifle. The Buccaneers.
Senior day.
The Buccaneers. Titans, Commanders. Those are the teams that are quarterback needy this year, unless Aaron Rodgers leaves, and then you throw in the Packers. But
okay,
those are the teams that I'm thinking of, and the one that makes the most sense to me, I think, is actually Tennessee. I think you brought up a really good point for Derek Carr.
But they'd have to. I'm glad I just incepted that into your mind, Casey.
Yeah, you did.
I think that, obviously they're going to have to get rid of Ryan Tannehill in some way, shape, or form. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Tennessee's a realistic place for him, though I think Tennessee should do it. They'd get better depending on what it's going to cost, what they're going to have to get rid of Ryan Tannehill. I don't know the logistics of it, but they'd be a better team with Derek Carr as opposed to Ryan Tannehill. And instead of looking like the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to run that division going forward, all of a sudden Tennessee is once again a formidable foe. So take a flyer on Derek Carr. The final guy is Jimmy G. What happens to Jimmy G? And we've been talking about Jimmy G, where he's going to land for years because the 49ers just seem to be always looking for that next guy. They've got two next guys. They got Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. So there's no point in having Jimmy G in San Francisco any longer. I don't know what his contract deals are, but he's going to go somewhere. He's coming off an injured year. He's been to a Super Bowl. What do you do with Jimmy Garoppolo?
I could see him going to the Commanders. I could see him going to the Jets. But I think my number one pick for him is actually the Saints. Since Derek Carr denied the Saints being traded to the Saints. And I don't know if that officially means that he's out from potentially signing a deal with them, but it makes more sense that the Saints are a cap-strapped team. They need to find someone to play quarterback, and you're probably going to get Garoppolo on a cheaper deal if you sign him to the market. Sign him off the market, you're going to get him at a cheaper price. So that's my team is the Saints.
Jimmy G makes a lot of sense in Meadowlands, though, right? Team.
You know what?
He seems like a New York guy.
I was going to say, he just seems like a New York guy. Forget the teams. He just seems like a New York guy. Sign him to one of the teams. Yeah.
You know, in an effort to save my marriage, every time that the 49ers get ready to play and Jimmy G is going to be on that screen, I turn it off. I don't let Mariana watch Jimmy G because he's a handsome fella. He looks like he's a New York guy.
He is.
So you got to actively approve.
A New York guy.
New York guy.
Yeah.
So, all right, we like them. So with all these moves going around, it's no secret that the AFC is more quarterback driven than the NFC. Man, you're talking Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert. The list goes on and on and on. Who is the best quarterback in the NFC? Easy answer, Jalen Hurts, right? So then the question becomes, who's the second best quarterback in the NFC? And do you guys even think that Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFC? And if so, who do you guys think is the second best? Because it is absolutely deprived.
Yeah.
What time is the game being played?
You like Kirk. You like Kirk at 1 or at noon. The noon nightmare.
The noon nightmare. Danny Dimes.
I'm going to throw one out at you.
All right.
Didn't play last year. Matt Stafford. He's got to be the second best quarterback in the NFC, right? God. Just won a Super Bowl the year before. Has been great his entire career.
It really is unbelievable going down this list how bad the NFC quarterbacks are.
Yeah, when you're talking Geno Smith and Daniel Jones being in 3-4 range for best quarterback in the division. And people wonder why we are so quick to announce the AFC as better than the NFC. In a league that is so driven by the quarterback, there's a drought. There is a desert of quarterback talent in the NFC. Jalen Hurts is so far and above every NFC quarterback that he looks amazing. And I don't even think he's a top 5 quarterback in the league.
What about Jared Goff?
Jared Goff played great last year.
I thought he played really good. I think my third would be Kirk Cousins. Matthew Stafford 4th because he's getting older. Geno Smith at 5. Kyler Murray 6. And then after that, I mean, Dak Prescott at 7. Maybe that's too disrespectful for Dak, but
Dak Prescott gets too much hate. I really do believe that. But NFC's bad.
Yeah.
NFC's bad. Well,
it's deprived.
It is deprived.
Deprived. All right.
Casey, football guy. Are you going to watch the XFL?
I'm going to attempt to watch at least the first week. See if I like the product or not.
Did you watch it the first time around?
I watched the first couple weeks the first time around. Yeah.
Did you watch the USFL a few years before that?
Yes.
That's what it is. That's what's coming out in 2 months.
The USFL?
So we will have 2 football leagues going on throughout this spring.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't been following it enough to have actually realized that they're both running at the same time. Well, right after each other. They should have just combined resources, if you ask me. I mean, that would have been a much better product. But, yeah, I mean, I'm going to attempt to watch it. And, if it's not good, I'll stop watching it. But usually I give football leagues the first couple weeks, and I'll follow a team. But usually you can tell after the first set of games whether or not the rest of the season is worth watching, because I think the opener of the USFL was really good.
It was really good.
The first opening
Right.
week was great. And then after that, it started, you could really tell the disparity between talent, and it just wasn't good after that. I did watch a bit of the championship game for the USFL last year. That was entertaining, but
Did the USFL play last year? I thought it was like 4 years ago.
I think it was a while ago.
It was like 2018.
I
I was
that
living up in Lima.
I thought that's what just played this last season, like this last.
Maybe that was the XFL?
The XFL played more recently. So the USFL, just giving you guys a brief history, obviously it had a league back in the 80s, but it came back like in 2018, and they had the funding for years in advance. And what happened is they found out that funding wasn't really there. So another team, another owner, bought the USFL to keep the league afloat and to make sure that these guys were getting paid on time. Really what that owner wanted, he didn't want the USFL. The USFL was actively trying to create a betting app, a sports betting app. This was when sports betting apps were in their infancy. So the owner of the USFL really just wanted to buy the software that the USFL was creating, and then literally ended the USFL like 3 weeks late after that. So just kind of railroaded that whole process. Obviously, they're bringing it back now. And then the WWE, which owned the XFL back in the early 2000s, tried to start the XFL, was it two years ago? And that got ended because of COVID, if I remember correctly. And now The Rock has brought it, which, by the way, you guys got to get up on your WWE knowledge. The Brahma Bulls.
So the Rock is probably in my top 2 or 3 of favorite celebrities, but you could not pay me to watch wrestling.
Why not?
Oh, I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
How come?
Like, you just...
Let me ask, why?
It's just, I just don't like...
I don't like fake.
Yeah, I don't like the...
I don't like scripted.
Like, I understand, like, I have tried before to watch it, and back when I tried, it was kind of like on the very tail end of the John Cena, the Miz, all those guys way back when. I just can't do
Let
it.
me push something back on you, Paul.
Yeah.
You ever watch The Bachelor? You ever watch The Bachelorette?
The only season I watched was Jordan Rogers' season, but for the same reason, it's all fake.
Right. So when people are quick to judge, and I don't watch the WWE anymore. I used to. Back when I was in high school, I even watched it. And I loved the WWE. Yeah, it's fake, but it's scripted, as is all reality television. Literally all of it's scripted. Every single reality TV show that you watch is scripted. So that's literally all you're watching. You're watching a scripted game, a scripted sport, and they were just trying to entertain folks. And I found it incredibly entertaining. And The Rock, if you ever watched the Attitude Era of the WWE, was fantastic. I mean, he was entertainment. It is actually amazing that multiple WWE wrestlers have become big movie stars. You got The Rock, you've got John Cena, you've got Batista, who's in Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. Dave Batista. So those guys. So I like the WWE.
Those guys from back then, like, I remember watching some of that with The Rock, Cena, like some of those guys. Yeah. But now...
You don't know, so how would you know?
You just don't know. I just don't. I mean, like, you got to pick and choose your spots. Miss me on the WWE. Miss me on the wrestling thing.
The game, like, if you play the video game, that's great.
They're a blast.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
But I'm not a fan of just watching it, especially if you don't know much about my background. I used to be a mass control and news stations. And I worked the second shift for Fox, and they always had WWE playing, or whatever it is, SmackDown, or I can't remember.
On a Friday night, SmackDown.
Friday night SmackDown.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, it just...
So what would you do in Master Control? What was your job? You switching programs?
Yeah, making sure programs were running efficiently, making sure commercials are ran smoothly, and you have to just watch and make sure that nothing wrong happens.
What is
just miserable.
Bonkers about the WWE is there are some betting sites, not Betfred, but some other betting sites that'll let you actively bet on wrestling matches, which is bananas considering it's scripted. Literally, it's all scripted. Like, the people in the WWE know what's going to happen, and they do it on the fly.
I do. I love The Rock. I mean, legitimately.
Did you ever watch the 30 for 30 on Ric Flair?
No. I legitimately, I would say The Rock. This is gonna be a wild top 3 here.
Your 3 favorite wrestlers?
No.
Oh.
Celebrities.
Oh, okay.
Like 3 dudes, if you could say, put them in a room, like celebrities right now.
Yeah.
3 non-sports related celebrities that you could say, put these 3 guys in a room, have a conversation with them. I'd go The Rock, George Clooney, and maybe Brad Pitt, but that might be too close to George Clooney.
Why Brad Pitt and George Clooney? I'm actually
They're
curious.
just in so many movies together that
Well, like why them though? Just because they're suave guys?
Yeah.
I like Brad Pitt a lot.
Yeah. Who would you go with?
That's your foursome if you're gonna play golf.
Ooh.
Or your dinner party.
Yeah, maybe. I'd have to think hard because I'm thinking maybe there's somebody I've left out. But yeah, off the top of my head. I mean, AJ's right. They are handsome. If I could look like anybody.
You don't want to know
George Clooney.
You don't want to know my golf.
Oh no, you're right. I actually, yeah. You can't say your golf.
You don't want to know my
No, you
my
can't
golf
say your
outing.
golf.
You don't want to know my dinner party, guys.
No,
you just
you
don't
can't
wanna
say
know.
that. Casey, do you have a dinner party?
Of celebrities,
Pick 3. You're playing a golf outing. It's a foursome.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
No.
That's
Okay.
You can pick sports.
Sports. All right. Humor me here and go non-sports related.
Non-sports related.
Because my foursome probably would have been sports related. So humor me here and go without sports. Rip it. Top of your head. 3 dudes.
I'm thinking. I really like The Rock, just like you.
Okay. Love The
he's
Rock.
He's on my
Miss me
top
with The
5.
Rock stuff.
Love The Rock.
And you got to get Kevin Hart along with him because they're just like
Kevin
they're a
Hart
great
circa
pair together.
2011. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm going Joe Burrow, The Rock, and Kevin Hart together.
Okay. If Joe Burrow had a torn ACL and couldn't play golf that day, had to sub somebody in and out, who would you go with? Your dad suggests Dumbledore.
No.
Famous musician, famous actor.
I'd probably go with like Robert Downey Jr. or
you
Chris
know.
Evans or someone from the Marvel universe. Cause
Phil Collins, if you made me pick a musician.
See, that's where me and Casey have our biggest disparity is the fact that he's a Marvel guy when DC Comics exist out in the world.
I like DC too, though. I'm a superhero guy. Superhero universe.
Doesn't seem like it. All right, so what are the XFL teams? We've got to get one XFL team to follow this year. They start on Saturday. Are we a St. Louis Battlehawks guy? Are we the Arlington Renegades? They play at the ballpark in Arlington, the former Rangers.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I'm going to be following the Battlehawks just because of AJ McCarron. That's the only reason I'm following them.
I have a feeling Paul is going to be a DC Defenders guy.
Well, I was deciding between that or doing the Brahmas for The Rock. But I think I have to go with my hometown, the DC Defenders. Couldn't name a single player. What's the roster looking like? Who's the coach?
Who are the starting quarterbacks in this league? I know AJ McCarron, right, is one of them. Drew Plitt. Paxton Lynch.
Brett Hundley.
Paxton Lynch is in this league?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. This is great on-the-spot podcasting here.
Yeah, Drew Plitt. He was the Ball State guy, right?
Oh, man.
He was
I'm
the
looking
guy.
at some of these names. Oh, my
Cole
goodness.
McDonald.
Drew Plitt's a Bengal. Went to Loveland High School. And we're not going to pick them?
Wow. I think
We got to do the Arlington Renegades. That's who I've got.
Seth Pryor's, he's asking me about Phil Collins. Is that I hope that's a good. I mean, I love Phil Collins. I used to be pretty good at the drums.
Did you really?
Yeah, I used to low-key be pretty good at the drums, and I kind of gave it up. I don't have any room in the house anymore for the drums, so I haven't played it in years. All right, so I'm going with the Defenders. Got to go hometown.
I'm going with my hometown. I'm going Arlington Renegades. Drew Plitt from Cincinnati. Played for the Bengals. Went to Ball State.
All right.
All right.
Next thing up, average.
Well, we got to know Casey. Casey, you going with the Battlehawks?
I'm going to go with Battlehawks. Battlehawks are the ones I'm going to go with. I will also say because that's different than what we usually have to put $1 in the jar for. They are playing. The Battlehawks are playing the Brahmas, and I'm pretty sure. Nope,
Huge
I'm wrong.
game.
I'm wrong. Josh Gordon is playing in this league.
Yeah, he is.
That's kind of interesting. I'm going to be paying attention to that and seeing if he can continue to play at a high level or not.
Sir Boy Wonder wants a fantasy baseball league. Oh, we can set that up.
We can make that happen.
We can set that up. Trust me. I'll get us a 20-team league to where your second best player is, I don't know, Nico Horner. I just picked the cubby off the top of my head. That's when it gets fun. Not when every team has Bryce Harper and Mike Trout on the same squad. You're playing an 8-man league. It's got to deplete the scouts. So quickly, I'll leave off the guy that'll get me in trouble on this show. With my four.
Sub him. He also has a torn ACL.
Yeah. So if the guy that I was thinking of, he's a political guy and he'd get me in trouble. So I'll just leave it there. I would definitely go Zach Bryan. Huge Zach Bryan fan. I would have taken Kanye West, but he can't choose him anymore.
I thought that's who you left off.
Oh, no. Another guy from Chicago. Political guy from Chicago.
Oh, that's right.
You're catching my drift.
Oh, that's right.
So I'm definitely taking Zach Bryan. If I'm going to take a athlete, you got to go Anthony Rizzo. The third guy would definitely be.
Definitely this guy.
Well,
AJ Worse says Barry O. What about him? You want him?
I do like Barry O. Sorry, guys. The final guy, Canadian actor, Deadpool. What's his name?
Oh, Ryan
Reynolds. Love Ryan Reynolds. Sorry, couldn't think of his name. All right.
That's a good one.
So, guys, I have a question for you. I've had this argument with my friends so oftentimes. This is just great podcasting, and we're just throwing things to the wind on this Friday.
Sure.
Before
Let's
a
do
great
it.
Saturday of college basketball. When you go to a Reds game, how much money do you spend, and how much is too much money? When you typically go to a Reds game, how much are you spending?
So what I do when I go to a Reds game, depending on how we're doing it, usually what I'll do is I will just walk up to the window, say, give me the cheapest available ticket, not even look at the seat, and walk straight down behind the dugout, and nobody cares. Now, what they have started doing in the last couple of years is charging more on the day of the game for a ticket. So I will buy a ticket if it's cheaper ahead of time. Sometimes you can get them for like $7 or $8, and you can get them on StubHub. Now you have a fee there, or TickPick or whatever it is. TickPick doesn't do fees, but yeah, I would say I never would pay more than $10 for a Reds ticket, and I sit fifth row.
So then I'm talking also the whole experience: parking,
Beers,
food.
Parking,
whole ordeal. When you leave your house, how much money are you coming back home less?
I would say I can do the whole Reds experience on a night. It would cost me $20.
Wow.
I can do parking is $5 if you park down by Sawyer Point, which I park down there for Bengals. I park down there for concerts. It's $5 parking down there. $5 parking at Sawyer Point. Okay, you walk a half a mile, but you're right there next to the stadium. $10 ticket maybe, that's $15, and then you get a beer for $21. Hopefully you haven't eaten. You eat at your house.
Yeah, you can't eat there unless you get one hot dog.
Unless you go on 3-2-1 Tuesday.
Yeah. Casey, what's your average price of a ticket or a day at the ballpark? How often do you go to the ballpark?
I actually went last year, but it was
about once a year.
Yeah, about once a year. It used to be a little bit more, like 2 or 3 times a year, but that was when I was a lot younger.
Sure. What's your average?
My average price. Well, the one night that we went, we paid a lot that we shouldn't have paid for to go, but it was Zoo Night, and they kind of jacked the prices up for the special nights. So if I'm just going on a regular night, I'm probably, and I'm including my a person I'm going with because I'm not going by myself. Probably around like 50, 60.
Yeah.
Just because I'm probably going to get food there. That's like the experience is getting food there. I really enjoy that one stand they have the fries, and they put like.
I know what you're talking about, right at the first base, down at the first base right field foul pole.
I forgot, I should say $41. I always get a $20 50-50 ticket. One day I'll win the 50-50.
I love that about you.
I always get the 50-50. No matter where I go, I always get a 50-50.
All right, let's map out this in its entirety. I'm buying 2 tickets because I'm going with Mariana. So I buy her ticket. So we'll say $10 a piece on tickets, $20. We're paying $10 for parking. So we're at $30 before we even step foot in the stadium. So this is where I get an argument. Is I told my friends how much I spent on a game. They're like, "Wow, you're spending way too much money." I'm piecing this out for you guys. So $30 before I even step 1 foot into the stadium. I'm going to a ball game. I'm gonna drink a couple beers. So before you get in, they have that Budweiser. You guys know what I'm talking about? They have this Budweiser carriage.
Yeah.
They sell beers for $5 before first pitch. Full-size beers. Or you can go to the Garden Bar, which is right inside the stadium, $5 before first pitch. Got to get 2 of those. So now I'm at $40 before first pitch. Game starts. We'll say 2 more beers. $20 more. So now we're at, what is that, $60. Got to get a Sky Rosa. You got to get a Sky Rosa. So throw $12 more on the thing. By the way, the best price for food at Great American Ballpark, the Penn Station sub. You get a cheesesteak and fries for like $10. It's the best deal that they have in the thing. Okay. But you get a Sky Rosa. It's about $12. So now we're sitting around $74. That is around my average price of going to the ballpark if I'm not going to drink a couple more beers. But yeah. And I also include, when I do this, I normally go to the banks either before to get a meal or just get another beer. I'm going to sit and watch. I've been training for the 9 beer, 9 hot dog thing my entire life. So that's why you gotta incorporate that.
So I won't lie. The night that we talked about that, or like the day after, we cooked out on the grills. A nice day out, like Wednesday or Thursday.
You had 9 beers, 9 hot dogs.
And I made like 10 hot dogs. I made some burgers, and I had like 3 burgers, 3 hot dogs, a couple beers. I was like, I can do it. I could do it. I
really don't think I could. I don't think I could get through either. I'm not sure if I could do. I could do the 9 beers in 3 hours. I'm not sure I could do 9 hot dogs in 3 hours. And to ask me to do both of them at the same time, I don't think I could do it. Because you're inevitably going to run into an inning that's a 3-up, 3-down inning, and you're chugging. And then the next inning, if you run into 2 of those, oh man, you're toast. I'm toast. You're not. I'm toast.
I think we try it. And Sir Boy Wonder says, Reed is a part of those Cubs groups that try to take over the ballpark. Yeah, gosh darn right I am. Come there, wearing my jersey, wearing my hat, singing Go Cubs Go, walking in, roughing around the Reds fans. I actually have a fun story. So I went to a Reds game with a Reds-Cubs game with Mariana. And we show up before the game. And this has nothing to do with being a Cubs fan or anything. It's just a fun experience that I had at the game one time. Before the game, I walk up, get 2 beers. And he says, "Do you want the normal price or do you want the discounted price?" And I said, I'll take the discounted price for two Mick Ultras, please. He said, "You got cash?" I said, "Well, yes, I do." He said, "All right, if you got card, it's 2 for $22. If you got cash, it's 2 for $10. I said, "All right, here's $10. He took that money, this guy working this beer stand, put that right in his pocket. He said, "You keep those cups and come back to me if you need a refill." So inning goes by, 2 innings go by. Me and Mariana need a refill. I go back. I say, 2 for $10? He said, 2 for $10. Hand him $10. He puts that right in his pocket, just stealing money. That's why the Reds can't get any big-time free agents. It's because that guy right there was stealing money from the Reds, and I was just giving it. I was getting half-price beers. Absolutely incredible.
You're just airing my man out here.
I mean, I don't even know the guy's name. But I can tell you he was working in the upper deck, the upper levels. 2 for $10. I had a lot. I probably spent more money than I normally would have just because I was getting such a good deal. It's like when your wife goes out to the store and she's like, "It's a sale." And you keep buying stuff. She's like, "It's on sale," even though they just mark it down and they get you to just buy more stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he could have sold those bad boys for $15.
He could have named his price. He could. I mean, I was at the whim.
But then he's got to have change. He knows you just got a $10 bill in your pocket. He's getting more business. He's got to give you a $5 back. If you give him a $20, no chance.
I couldn't have been the only guy that he was doing that to. So how much money do you think that guy walked away with? I mean, he walked away with at least over $100. well over $100.
Yeah.
You guys ever have to work concession stands for like any groups or sports teams or anything like that growing up?
I don't anymore. I think I'm trying to remember in high school if we had to do that once. You had to do it for Bluffton, didn't you?
So I had to, for the Beavers, we had to do a few things. One was we had to work at a Cedar Point. I actually wrote an article about how terrible that Cedar Point experience was in our school newspaper, and the school newspaper published it. I got a text from our coach and the athletic director saying, I need you in our office immediately. And I got in trouble for that whole thing. That's a whole nother thing. I met King Griffey Jr. parking when I was up at Bluffton for a Toledo basketball game. I walk in, I'm working, parking, taking money, taking cards. And this guy walks in. And if you know the Nike brand Swingman, which is King Griffey Jr.'s Nike brand, this guy's wearing this Swingman quarter zip. And I look at him and I go, I've got that exact same quarter zip. And I look up and it's King Griffey Sr. Oh my gosh. This is all, I'm saying this out loud. I go, I've got the exact same quarter zip. You're King Griffey Sr. You're King Griffey Jr. And they said, yeah, we are. And I gave him a ticket. And I stood there like this for like 2 minutes, and they park. And as they're walking into the stadium, I once again hollered, Griffey! And waved at him, and he's giving a wave back. So that was my brief run-in with King Griffey Jr. It was incredible. What also is incredible is tomorrow's slate of college basketball games. So we've got this TV guide. We did this a few weeks ago just to kind of give you a primer on what to watch tomorrow, what to bet tomorrow. We don't have the lines out yet, but look at all these games. Noon, you got the Fighting Illini coming into Assembly Hall against the number 14 Indiana Hoosiers. Every game in the Big 12 is good. Texas Tech versus West Virginia. Then you got Tennessee versus University of Kentucky at 1 p.m. 2 p.m. you got Iowa State versus Kansas State, 19 versus 12, I believe. Later on in the day, you couldn't get that many things on this graphic.
I got you. Hold on. There we go.
You got Baylor and Kansas. And then later on in the day, you got a state championship for Michigan State and Michigan. Paul?
Yeah.
Besides the Xavier DePaul game.
Absolutely.
Which one of those games, you can take the graphic off, which one of those games tickles your fancy?
Tennessee and UK does. Very much so, because I will not be betting that game. I got no idea what kind of teams we're going to see come out to play. Both of those teams are just so hot and cold. But that game is going to tell us a lot about where both teams stand heading into March, both for Tennessee and then for Kentucky. Kentucky, if they win this game, I don't want to say they will be firmly in the tournament because they probably would still need to win one more game to be firmly in the tournament. But they would at least be on the right side of the bubble. They lose this game, and especially if they get blown out in this game, I just don't know what the committee is going to value with Kentucky. And if Tennessee looks bad in this game again, I don't know. This is going to be a big one for both teams.
Could you see? I mean, there's no way Tennessee loses 3 or 4 games, right? And that's what they're on. What's the spread looking like? It's going to be probably like 3 points.
My guess is somewhere in there right now. Ken Palm has it at 69-65 Tennessee. Tennessee will be favored in every game the rest of the way.
So it'll be about a 4-point game at Rupp Arena. There's just no way Tennessee loses again. And if they lose, I mean, they were looking at being a 2 seed, firmly a 2 seed. And if they lose this one, they're going to drop down to what, a 4, 5?
They wouldn't drop all the way to losing this game would not drop them 2 entire seed lines. But I mean, right now, you would probably say they're maybe the last 2 seed or the first 3 seed. This could drop them down to the bottom of that 3 seed range or the top of the 4. Yeah, no doubt.
It's tough. Illini, the Fighting Illini, they're looking are they in the tournament as of now?
Illinois, as of right this minute, I don't believe they are in the tournament. They don't have a great seed. They're probably
like a 10 seed or
no 6 maybe.
Oh really?
But they're not like a protected seed.
Yeah. So, what does this game mean for Indiana, Illinois?
It's huge. It's huge for Illinois. It's bigger in my mind for Illinois than it is for Indiana, even though they're only a seed line separated right now. Indiana what are we going to get out of Indiana coming off that loss against Northwestern? I like where Indiana is. I know they've dealt with injuries. Illinois, though. Illinois has had such a roller coaster of a season that now they've lost 2 out of their last 3. Just got blown out against Penn State. What do we get out of them? That's a huge question mark.
Is the Big Ten going to get like 8 teams again?
Yeah, they are. And now what are we going to do? Are we going to do the thing where the Big Ten gets 8 teams in and then 2 of them make it past the first weekend?
So here's the thing about the Big Ten getting 8 teams is who else are you going to let? This year, as opposed to years past, where they're getting 8 teams, there's a lot of hype around the Big Ten. Like, they've got all these great teams. I don't think anyone's looking at the Big Ten like they've got all these great teams. They've got just a bunch of middle-of-the-pack, tournament-worthy teams.
Well, no, and in fact, John Fanta just tweeted this out. Purdue has lost back-to-back games versus unranked opponents. They're the 5th team in the last 20 years to lose back-to-back games versus unranked opponents while being ranked 3rd or better. 3 of the previous 4 did not make it out of the first round of the NCAA tournament, much less the first weekend. I'm talking first round.
But that just goes into, I believe Tom brought this up on the show about the Big Ten, is they're not heavy. They're not top heavy, but they've got, like I said, like 7, 8 teams that are tournament teams.
They're going to get a lot in.
Right. It's just, what are they going to do once they're in? Like, it's no longer like they're going to have 2, 3 teams that are 1, 2, or 3 seeds. They'll be lucky to. I mean, Purdue, are they still a 1 seed? Still probably will be a 1 seed. It depends on if they win the Big Ten.
And the Big 12 is probably going to have 4 or 5 protected seeds, which is the top 4 seed. Yeah, Big 12 is looking fantastic per usual.
How many protected seeds will the Big East get? 2?
Maybe 2. Maybe 2. The Big East winner, and then maybe 2. I mean, right now Marquette's at 3. Xavier's on the cusp. Xavier and UConn are right there. Creighton, the problem with Creighton is all these wins are coming late. So even if they win the Big East, I still see Creighton in probably that 4 or 5 seed range. They could probably play their way into a 4. I would say maybe 2 for the Big East by the time all is said and done. Potentially 3, but I'll go with 2. College baseball starts today.
College baseball does start today, which is absolutely electric. And I'm incredibly excited about it. I'm going to watch some games probably when we get off here as we're finishing up work for the rest of the day. But a lot of good teams in the area, a lot of good. So if you guys don't know this, Cincinnati is a hotbed for college baseball talent. I mean, there's a reason that I believe St. Louis and Cincinnati have produced the most professional sports teams on the eastern side besides, I think, New York City. It's St. Louis and Cincinnati, and that is mostly because we have a bunch of baseball players. I mean, we get a lot of football players, don't really get a whole lot of NBA prospects, but baseball, this is a baseball town, and I think that goes into also when people argue whether this is a baseball town or a football town, is just how good the baseball is here in Cincinnati. I worked for Prep Baseball Report Ohio, an internship when I was in college, and I asked the dudes that ran Prep Baseball Report straight up. I said, Columbus, Toledo, Cleveland, Cincinnati, who's got the best talent? They looked at me and they said, is that even a question? It's Cincinnati by far and large.
Yep.
So much talent comes out of here in Cincinnati. And Paul's going to be on the call for a lot of Xavier games. So if you guys like some Xavier Muskies, Paul calls those games on
with our guy Mike Schmaltz.
Mike Schmaltzy.
Yeah.
So. All right, let's get in the vault. Not a lot of stuff.
Dayton minus 7 tonight. Dayton minus 7 tonight. I like the Flyers. It's on the road. The Ramblers are terrible. Should have won by more the first time they played. Give me the Flyers.
Give me San Jose State. The Lobos are in a rut.
The low blows?
Yep. They stink.
They stink. They were the last undefeated team, right?
Last undefeated team, and now they're not even going to make the tournament. They stink.
Wild. Hey, shout out to, before I give my pick of the day, shout out to Seth Pryor. He's talking about EKU baseball. I played ball with a kid who played at EKU. He actually was a finalist for the Johnny Bench Award. Alex Holderbach, he played in the Astros organization. I don't think he plays for them anymore. From here and from Fairfield, not from Hamilton. But you like Dayton. I'm looking at Betfred. So Betfred, I assume all the other markets are showing, not that we look frequently at the other markets.
Well, you got to look. Look.
They're showing an over-under for the NBA All-Star Game, which is Sunday. Before we know what the line is for Betfred, across the other books, it's somewhere in the 320s range, and Betfred will presumably put out an over-under. Let's bet an over-under in the NBA All-Star game. You guys want to know the line?
346.
325 is what I'm seeing.
Okay.
So you're taking the over.
But I just handicapped it at 346, so I'll go over.
Right. Case?
I'll go over too. Why not? That's
Why
more
would
fun.
you watch the NBA All-Star game and root for misses? You can't be rooting for misses. So I think let's all.
It's not like we know anybody that's ever taken the under in a.
Right. Let's take the over. Let's take the over. And you like Dayton -7 on the road in Chicago tonight. I like that as well. I also like, Kent State 17.5-point favorites tonight.
Oof.
It's too much.
Kent State is going to be a dangerous 13 seed. And right now, Xavier at a 4 seed, a 13 seed would be on the other side. Don't want anything to do with Kent State. I'll tell you that right now. Kent State's a good team. They got Sincere Carey, player of the year in the MAC last year. They're a good team. Don't be afraid of a big number.
Kent State, all right. You sold me on the Golden Flashes. My wife went to Kent State for 1 semester, and that's her school. She went there for 1 semester. She's like, yeah, I went to Kent State. Tells people all the time. She's like, I went to Kent State. I was like, all right, hell yeah. Go Golden Flashes. And I also love Casey. There was discussion in the chat about what position I played in baseball, and your dad pegged it right on the nail. He said, Boom Shakalaka said, try to take a guess. And he's like, catcher. Right on the money. What's for lunch today, guys?
What is for lunch today? What do we want to
It's Friday. Gina's?
I was going to say Gina's or Billy Yanks. But I like Gina's. I could go for some pasta.
Here. Gina's. And just add.
That's
The chat is out on Purdue, which I love as an Indiana fan.
I was out on Purdue last week, and after that Northwestern game, I'm scared for Purdue.
You tell me when to click the spin.
You throw one more in there.
One more.
Your last name.
True.
There it is. All right, spin that baby.
No.
Keep going, keep going, keep going. All right, no genus.
No.
Oh, I thought we were just going there. That was not the winner?
Oh.
I thought since we only did 3, that was...
Are you trying to rig this system?
No, I wasn't trying to rig it. I figured since we just had
We'll
3,
go to Gina's next week because we have to go to Gina's next week because Lent starts.
That's true. Good point.
They've got a good...
Then why don't we just go to Billy Yanks then?
All right.
Or he wants McAllister's.
Let's spin it. Let's spin
this
it.
wheel and we'll go wherever it lands. He wants McAllister's. Let's just go to McAllister's.
Bill Yanks.
He wants McAllister's.
Billy Yanks works.
All right.
All right. Guys,
Box lunch.
this has been the Box Lunch presented by Betfred Sportsbook. We'll be back on Monday after Tom's show, as we are every Monday, talking, I assume, a lot of talk about the NBA All-Star game because that's what I think we're going to be talking a lot about. Guys, Reed Mouse, Paul Fritchner, Casey McAllister, thank you. Casey, we got to work on how you say Bengals, but see ya. Good night.